Chapter 521 Changing Situations. The heavenly sacred palace martial artist who called out Yi Chen's name had also participated in the Five Elements Mountain expedition and had witnessed Yi Chen's exceptional performance within Five Elements Mountain. Thus his memory of Yi Chen was unmistakably profound. This martial artist also knew that in the end, Yi Chen had not come out of Five Elements Mountain and even attracted the attention of a true god. A martial artist from Purple Dawn continent who had spoken disrespectfully of Yi Chen was even killed directly by that true god. Later that true god specifically made a trip to the barbaric wilderness continent for Yi Chen to meet Palace Master Yuan Li. No matter how the heavenly sacred palace martial artist racked his brain, he couldn't have imagined that Yi Chen, who had disappeared in the Five Elements Mountain, would actually appear in the chaotic sea area. Even more unimaginable to him was that Yi Chen had become so formidable that even the terrifying late-stage existences of Heavenly Saint Realm in the chaotic sea were completely powerless in Yi Chen's hands. It had been only 7 months since they had seen each other. When Yi Chen reappeared, his strength had increased to such an extent. With just his hands, he killed mid-stage Heavenly Saint figures and even caused massive, 1,000-zhang-long flying boats to burst instantly, also effortlessly controlling thousands of people with a wave of his hand. Could it be that Yi Chen's strength had surpassed that of late-stage Heavenly Saint Realm existences, reaching the realm of the Void Sky True God? Void Sky True God. At the thought of these 4 words, the heart of the martial artist from Heavenly Sacred Palace trembled completely. A nameless excitement and agitation swirled around his entire body. If Yi Chen truly returned with the combat power of a true god level, then perhaps Yi Chen alone could change the battle situation of the entire war between the Southern Territory and the Western Wilderness in the chaotic sea. Yi Chen alone could turn the whole universe around. As this heavenly sacred palace martial artist let out an incredulous exclamation, the several thousand martial artists from the 13 countries of the Southern Territory who heard the name Yi Chen were also extremely shocked and turned to look at the young man in the void. Was this young man, who crossed thousands of zhang in one step and killed 7 or 8 chaotic sea martial artists with just one hand, also rendering all other chaotic sea martial artists and even late-stage Heavenly Saint existences utterly defenseless and flying towards him, Yi Chen? The martial artists of the 13 Southern Territory countries had, of course, heard the name Yi Chen. Ever since Yi Chen struck down in Shenjue, the first of the Western Wilderness demon sects practicing in Heavenly Sacred Palace, and the Western Wilderness came to the Southern Territory to beg for mercy, Yi Chen's name and deeds had been spread among all martial artists in the Southern Territory. But they had only heard that Yi Chen was very young and possessed mid-stage Heavenly Saint combat power. Now seeing this young man, he was far more than just mid-stage Heavenly Saint combat power. He was like a true god. Could it be that Yi Chen had become so powerful? True god indeed. That could practically be called the first person on the barbaric wilderness continent. Naturally, this left the crowd of Southern Territory martial artists in utter disbelief. The youth who had been subjected to numerous gazes and had taken action was, of course, Yi Chen. Although Yi Chen had not reached the realm of Void Sky True God, as the martial artists from Heavenly Sacred Palace and the thousands of martial artists from the 13 Southern Territory countries had speculated, his current combat power could be considered that of the first person in the barbaric wilderness continent without question. He was not a true god, but he could be called the strongest below the true gods, even an existence capable of slaying true gods. He naturally had the absolute power to punish these chaotic sea martial artists, even late-stage Heavenly Saint Realm martial artists. He could easily do it if he wanted to. Yi Chen, on his way back to the Southern Territory, encountered this flying boat. His divine soul, having undergone transformative training at the 3rd location of Minor Pole Sky, had already become immensely powerful. Even separated by 100 li, the scene within the flying boat, chaotic sea martial artists whipping and capturing martial artists from the Southern Territory, fell into Yi Chen's spiritual perception. Seeing this, Yi Chen instantly knew that there must have been major changes throughout the entire Southern Territory. He no longer hurried on his journey and instead, instantly shattered the flying boat, rescued the people from the Southern Territory, and flew to this part of the world in an instant. He wanted to find out what had happened in the Southern Territory. After Yi Chen nodded with a smile at the Heavenly Sacred Palace martial artist who called out his name, His gaze swooshed and turned towards the dozens of Chaotic Sea area martial artists who were flying towards him, begging for mercy. "Spare your lives." Yi Chen's gaze turned cold. With a grab in the void, the dozens of Chaotic Sea area martial artists, including that late-stage heavenly saint existence from the Chaotic Sea, were suddenly suspended in the air. Following that, Yi Chen's soul-searching secret skills instantly swept towards the minds of these dozens of people. The more he searched their souls, the colder Yi Chen's gaze became. Eventually, after clarifying the situation of the battle in the Southern Territory in these Chaotic Sea martial artists' minds and discovering that each of them had killed countless martial artists in the 13 countries of the Southern Territory, dyeing the entire region with blood, Yi Chen closed his hand in the void. Bang! 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 The dozens of warriors from the Chaotic Sea, who previously had been arrogantly mocking and laughing as they watched warriors from the Southern Territory being whipped on the flying boat, and who had killed countless Southern Territory warriors during the Great Battle, now all exploded into oblivion in the void. Even that late-stage heavenly saint existence was unable to withstand the attack and was killed instantly. Yi Chen's gaze turned towards the direction of the Southern Territory. "I didn't expect such a big change to have happened in the Southern Territory over these few months. The Sea God Palace, the #1 force in the Chaotic Sea, has unified the Chaotic Sea and together with the 10 great demon sects from the Western Wilderness invaded the Southern Territory. The Heavenly Sacred Palace has joined the battle, and all 3 palace masters are defending the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. They must be protecting my family. What about Zhang Yao and Seniors True Phoenix and Mulan? They must also be in Heavenly Wind Kingdom, so why didn't they take direct action? Could it be?" Yi Chen immediately thought of a possibility. The only reason that Seniors True Phoenix and Mulan True God did not personally join the battle could be that this situation might involve the enemies of the Divine Phoenix clan, the Zhu Yian clan and the Flying Spirit clan from the higher realms. If the Chaotic Sea has been unified and a great battle is happening in the Southern Territory, it's very likely that the Zhu Yian clan and the Flying Spirit clan are behind it. Otherwise, the Chaotic Sea area, always chaotic and with a complex myriad of forces, would not have been able to unite. From the memories of the divine souls of these Chaotic Sea warriors, I didn't see any signs of the true gods from the Zhu Yian clan or the Flying Spirit clan descending en masse. It's likely that 1 or 2 true gods are making trouble behind the scenes. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be a great battle in the Southern Territory. If 2 ancient clans from higher realms were to invade the lower realm, the entire barbaric wilderness would surely fall into utter chaos. Since it's only 1 or 2 true gods, and Seniors True Phoenix and Mulan True God find it inconvenient to act, I must step in. Now that I'm back, it's time for the situation of this great battle to change." Yi Chen pointed into the void, and his vast true chi swept out towards the thousands of Southern Territory warriors and the 3 warriors from the Heavenly Sacred Palace, removing the restraints on their combat power. After freeing these people from the constraints on their power, Yi Chen gathered them up with a sweep of his sleeve and led them towards several locations in the Chaotic Sea where Southern Territory warriors were imprisoned. Now that he knew the truth, before returning to the Southern Territory, it was necessary to do a thorough cleansing of the Chaotic Sea, Heavenly Wind Kingdom, among the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. Of all the battles across the 13 nations of the Southern Territory, only the Heavenly Wind Kingdom was still able to withstand the combined invasion of the Chaotic Sea and the 10 great demon sects, gaining the upper hand. Just as Yi Chen had anticipated, the reason the Heavenly Sacred Palace was involved in the Great Battle of the Southern Territory was because Yi Chen's homeland was among the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. All 3 palace masters of the Heavenly Sacred Palace were personally stationed in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom to protect Yi Chen's hometown. At that moment, on the summit of a great peak of the Taishan sect, Palace Master Yuan Li was looking at the 3 figures before him. These 3 figures were none other than True Phoenix, Mulan True God, and Zhang Yao. Reports about the battle situation of the 13 nations of the Southern Territory kept arriving at the Taishan sect, and the expressions on the faces of True Phoenix, Mulan True God, and Zhang Yao were growing increasingly grave. Yi Chen's guess was not wrong. True Phoenix had personally investigated the Chaotic Sea area during its unification process, And what she discovered was that this great battle was instigated by an existence on the same level as her, a 5-calamity true god from the Flying Spirit clan. This discovery greatly shocked True Phoenix. True gods from the Flying Spirit clan and the Zhu Yian clan had been searching to exterminate the remaining members of the Divine Phoenix clan, intent on eradicating them root and branch, according to Mulan True God. Now seeing a true god from the Flying Spirit clan descent to the lower realm, one that even True Phoenix felt unsure of confronting, she naturally could not interfere directly. Otherwise, if Princess Zhongyao were to be exposed, drawing more powerful beings from the Flying Spirit clan and Zhu Yian clan to the lower realm, it would indeed be a major calamity. True Phoenix could only join Mulan True God in hiding, protecting Yi Chen's hometown, and safeguarding Yi Chen's parents. Only the Heavenly Sacred Palace could be publicly involved in assisting the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. Stay connected through Empire. Now, the situation of the 13 nations of the Southern Territory was becoming increasingly perilous. The Heavenly Sacred Palace seldom involved itself in the internal strife of the barbaric wilderness continent, and its authority to enforce orders was low. The number of saints willing to wade into these troubled waters in the battle was dwindling. True Phoenix and Mulan True God's hearts sank even lower. But both True Gods, along with Zhang Yao, shared one conviction. No matter what, they had to protect the Heavenly Wind Kingdom to safeguard Yi Chen's parents. Red Crow Island, one of the 3 major islands in the Chaotic Sea area where prisoners from the 13 nations of the Southern Territory were detained. When Yi Chen arrived above this island, accompanied by the thousands of Southern Territory warriors and the 3 Heavenly Sacred Palace warriors, whose combat constraints he had removed, and called out the 9 late-stage Heavenly Saint-level Ice Seal Guards from the Ice Snow Jade Pendant, instructing them to begin purging the island and rescue the warriors detained within. The thousands of Southern Territory warriors who followed Yi Chen here were ecstatic to the point of madness. When they had witnessed Yi Chen killing dozens of warriors from the Chaotic Sea with a wave of his hand, and even the immensely powerful late-stage Heavenly Saint existence from the Chaotic Sea dying at Yi Chen's hand, they finally believed that their Southern Territory had welcomed a truly supreme warrior, capable of sweeping away all top-tier Heavenly Saints from the Chaotic Sea. Now, seeing Yi Chen accompanied by 9 late-stage Heavenly Saint powerhouses, their excitement was even more overwhelming. 9 late-stage Heavenly Saint existences, a force absolutely capable of changing the course of the battle. Yi Chen not only possessed exceptional strength himself, but also had so many powerful allies. These Southern Territory warriors, fresh from being rescued by Yi Chen, knew that there was hope for the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. Chapter 522 Sweeping Across the Chaotic Sea. Boom! 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 As the 9 great ice enforcers flew into Red Crow Island, the entire place was instantaneously engulfed by their astounding combat power. All 9 ice enforcers were at the late stages of the Heavenly Saint realm, and their attacks were earth-shattering. It should be known that, in the entire central region, there were only 3 late-stage Heavenly Saint powerhouses: Palace Master Yuan Li, Mu Yao Palace Master, and Skyscraper Palace Master. Now, with 9 ice enforcers, each a late-stage Heavenly Saint powerhouse, making their move, not a soul in the central region could withstand them, let alone this insignificant Red Crow Island that was imprisoning the warriors from the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. In a matter of moments, the 9 ice enforcers had flown out from the island with countless figures in tow, returning to Yi Chen's side. Prince Yi Chen, I have slain 34 warriors from the Chaotic Sea area who had previously killed warriors from the Southern Territory and captured 21 of them, rescuing 906 imprisoned Southern Territory warriors. Bing Shirsan reported to Yi Chen. Prince Yi Chen, I have slain 52 warriors from the Chaotic Sea, captured 36, and rescued 3,469 warriors from the Southern Territory and Heavenly Sacred Palace. Bing Shi also rushed back. Prince Yi Chen. Prince Yi Chen. Finally, all the detained warriors, along with the newly captured warriors from the island of the Chaotic Sea area, were brought back to Yi Chen by the 9 great ice enforcers. Yi Chen nodded and looked down at the now desolate Red Crow Island. With a grand wave of his hand through the void, a gigantic palm that encompassed the entire Red Crow Island crashed down onto the island below. Bang! 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 The whole Red Crow Island, spanning dozens of miles, was shattered to pieces by Yi Chen's palm strike, sunk into the boundless chaotic sea with a single slap. One palm, annihilating an entire island. Such a feat made the 9 ice enforcers exchange glances, completely taken aback and thrilled by the dramatic increase in strength of their prince, Yi Chen. This also caused the several hundred warriors from the chaotic sea area who had just been captured to inhale sharply with shock. And the tens of thousands of warriors from the 13 countries of the Southern Territory that had been newly rescued by the 9 ice enforcers were utterly astounded. At that moment, among the thousands of Southern Territory warriors Yi Chen had previously rescued, some recognized the newly rescued warriors and flew towards them. Tears welled up in their eyes as they cried out, "Brother Feng Qi, I haven't seen you since you were captured. You are alive, you are still alive. Brother Zhao Yang, I see you again. We are saved. This time, the Southern Territory is saved. It was Yi Chen who saved us. Senior Yi Chen has returned." An hour later, Black Smoke Island, the second island imprisoning warriors from the 13 countries of the Southern Territory, billowed with thick smoke. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 9 great ice enforcers took flight from Black Smoke Island, once again bringing with them tens of thousands of warriors. Moments later, jubilant screams and sobbing cries filled the enormous flying vessel carrying the tens of thousands of warriors. Afterward, the colossal vessel flew off towards Blood Flame Island, the third island where warriors from the 13 countries of the Southern Territory were held captive. 3 hours later, in the territory of the Sea God Palace, the preeminent power of the chaotic sea area, whirls of panic shrieked across Sea God Island as hundreds of figures hastily took to the skies. It's bad. An invasion. A late-stage heavenly saint powerhouse is invading. Most of our island's warriors have gone to the Southern Territory. We can't fend off these people. We can't stand against them. Run. Quick. Escape. After these several hundred figures fled from Sea God Island, they tried to scatter in all directions. Most of these figures were warriors of the heavenly saint realm. At that moment, suspended in the sky was an immense flying vessel, nearly housing 100,000 people, hovering motionlessly. Nearly 100,000 warriors from the 13 countries of the Southern Territory and the Heavenly Sacred Palace all looked down at the chaotic Sea God Island below, and at the young man, Yi Chen, at the forefront of the flying vessel. At this moment, seeing that several hundred warriors from the Sea God Palace were trying to escape, Yi Chen made his move. He pointed at the void, and a green gourd flew out from his body, instantly swelling to 1,000 zhong in size. Then, the mouth of the gourd violently spewed out countless strands of cyan and white energy, enshrouding the hundreds of figures flying out of Sea God Island. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Amidst their struggles, all of these figures were sucked into the gourd. Stay updated through Empire. Even those fleeing in all directions, not a single one escaped. With another hand seal from Yi Chen, the green gourd that had swollen to 1,000 zhong immediately shrank, spinning back into Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen turned the mouth of the gourd upside down, and all the captured figures tumbled out from the gourd onto the flying vessel. When they saw that nearly 100,000 warriors from the Southern Territory looked toward them, as well as Yi Chen, who had used the magical thunder gourd to capture them, each one of the figures was so stunned they couldn't speak, their mouths agape. And on the ground below, more figures were captured, all seized by 9 enormous ice guardians, and in the end, they were all brought back onto the flying vessel. Prince Yi Chen, we have captured a total of 1,356 warriors who were still on Sea God Island, reported Bing Shi to Yi Chen. Yi Chen nodded and smiled. Along with the 305 people I captured with the Thunder Gourd. It seems there are only a bit over 1,600 people left on Sea God Island now. The green gourd that had captured the several hundred flying figures was none other than the mid-grade offensive divine artifact, the Thunder Gourd, which Yi Chen had obtained from Bing Ao in the minor pole sky. Yi Chen had not yet unleashed the true killing power of the Thunder Gourd. Otherwise, instead of capturing these hundreds of people, he could have instantly killed them all. After confining the newly captured 1,000 and more people in a sealed space on the flying vessel, Yi Chun looked at the nearly 100,000 warriors on the boat and at the 9 major ice guardians. The chaotic sea area has countless islands, and we don't have the time to clear them one by one, he said. The 3 islands where warriors from the Southern Territory were imprisoned have all been broken through, and all the remnants on Sea God Island have been captured. Now, it's time to return to the real battlefield, to the battlefield of the 13 countries of the Southern Territory, to deal with the main forces of the chaotic sea and the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation. Upon hearing Yi Chen's words, the nearly 100,000 warriors from the Southern Territory and the heavenly sacred palace on the flying vessel erupted with jubilation. They had witnessed Yi Chen's strength along the way, and now, hearing that Yi Chen was issuing orders to return to the Southern Territory to face the enemies from the chaotic sea on the battlefield, they were naturally overjoyed. Previously, they had been constantly suppressed by the Union Army of the Chaotic Sea and the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation, and were at an absolute disadvantage in battle. But now they were no longer afraid, because they had Yi Chun, and they had the help of the 9 late-stage Heavenly Saint Realm Ice Guardians. They knew that once this group returned, the Southern Territory would be poised to turn the tides of the battle. Seeing the cheering warriors from the Southern Territory and the Heavenly Sacred Palace, Yi Chen gently pressed his hand down, and in an instant, tranquility fell inside the flying vessel. All warriors looked toward Yi Chen, knowing that he had something to say. After smiling and nodding to the crowd, Yi Chen spoke to the 9 major ice guardians. 9 seniors, please take these comrades back to the Southern Territory, back to the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, to see Palace Master Yunli. Tell Palace Master Yunli that I have returned. Then, you should cooperate with Palace Master Yunli and join the great battle of the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. He continued. I still need to visit a certain place. Afterwards, I will return to the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. Yes, Prince Yi Chun. The 9 major ice guardians responded in unison. As the 9 major ice guardians led the flying vessel, along with the nearly 100,000 warriors of the Southern Territory and the Heavenly Sacred Palace, back to the Southern Territory, Yi Chen's figure remained alone in the skies of the chaotic sea. Yi Chen's gaze turned in a direction of the chaotic sea, muttering to himself, previously, I was planning to see Jiang Yao first before handling other matters. Now, since I have ventured deep into the chaotic sea, a visit to one place is indeed necessary. Elder Tuashan, the Manchuoshan mountain master of the chaotic sea area. Humph, back then, you had severely injured Senior Chen Ji and Senior Lien Yu, with Senior Lien Yu even self-detonating her flying sword and falling into a deep slumber. Before, I lacked the strength to deal with you. Now, I can personally capture you to avenge Senior Chen Ji and Senior Lien Yu. Yi Chen's mind flickered through the sea charts of the chaotic sea. He had searched from the memories of the souls of those chaotic sea warriors, and then his figure burst towards the direction of Manchuoshan in the chaotic sea in an instant. From the memories of the souls of the late-stage Heavenly Saint Realm warriors he had killed earlier, he learned that several groups from the chaotic sea had completed several missions in the 13 countries of the Southern Territory and had already returned to their respective islands to rest and recuperate. And Elder Tuashan was one of those resting, who by this time had already returned to that Manchuoshan. Chapter 523-Tuashan. Get out here. Montua Mountain is the collective term for 3 towering small islands located in the northwest of the chaotic sea area, about 3,000 li away from Sea God Island, where the Sea God Palace is situated. When Yi Chen flew from Sea God Island toward Montua Mountain, there was a lively scene happening within Montua Mountain. On this day, it was the time when the Mountain Lord of Montua Mountain, respectfully known as Elder Tuashan, an existence at the mid-stage of Heavenly Saint, was hosting a banquet for the 5 great Heavenly Saints of the surrounding islands. The countless younger generation on the island under Elder Tuashan, along with the young ones brought by the 5 great Heavenly Saints to Montua Mountain, were amusing themselves on the 2 small islands outside Montua Mountain. Meanwhile, Elder Tuashan and the other 5 great Heavenly Saints were in the Central Island's core palace, clinking their cups in toast, engrossed in enthusiastic conversation. Elder Tuashan, this time in the Heaven Departure Nation of the 13 nations of the Southern Territory, your battle achievements were truly outstanding. You slew a large number of powerful beings from the 13 Southern Territory nations, seized vast cities, and were even appointed by the powerful predecessor Jiao Xian, the palace master of Sea God Palace, as one of the top 10 generals to be dispatched to battle. After this period of rest, you'll be able to take up your post. From then on, Elder Tuashan, you will be directly under the command of predecessor Jiao Xian, following by his side. Congratulations, Elder Tuashan, said one of the early-stage heavenly saint existences from the 5 great heavenly saints as he congratulated Elder Tuashan. Another mid-stage heavenly saint also spoke up, "Indeed, Elder Tuashan, although you reached the mid-stage of heavenly saint later than I did, you are now a renowned mid-stage heavenly saint in the chaotic sea area. Your future prospects are truly boundless. Elder Tuashan, I will have to ask you to put in a good word for me in front of predecessor Jiao Xian." The remaining 3 great heavenly saints also began to lavish praise upon Elder Tuashan. Since Elder Tuashan was the one hosting the banquet, and as he had gained favor from the palace master of Sea God Palace due to his role in the great battle against the Southern Territory, this was a time when he was riding high. Naturally, they all wanted to flatter Elder Tuashan properly. Elder Tuashan was a somewhat hunchbacked old man, with white hair and a face full of wrinkles but possessing a rather upright appearance. However, the cunning and sinister expression hidden deep in his eyes was something no one could detect. Hearing the 3 early-stage heavenly saints and 2 mid-stage heavenly saints around him offering compliments and even some flattery, Elder Tuashan felt extremely pleased. Yet he maintained a composed exterior and faintly smiled. It is all thanks to the mutual support of fellow Taoists that this old man was able to achieve such battle merits. If ever there is an opportunity, I will certainly recommend my fellow Taoists to predecessor Jiao Xian. Our 7 islands of the northwest are branches of the same tree, and in time, our reputation will surely resonate throughout the entire chaotic sea. Upon hearing what Elder Tuashan said, the faces of the others lit up with joy. Stay updated with Novelbin.com. Predecessor Jiao Xian was the palace master of the most powerful force in the chaotic sea area, the Sea God Palace, and he was an immensely powerful late-stage heavenly saint. They had spent many years in the chaotic sea without even the chance to meet such a formidable being. Now, with the prospect of receiving attention from predecessor Jiao Xian through Elder Tuashan, they were naturally excited beyond words. Then we must thank Elder Tuashan, brother. Come, let's properly savor this sea-bottom wine I've collected from the Black Mist Sea Trench, and properly celebrate Elder Tuashan's promotion, wishing Elder Tuashan a swift ascent. Ha! Come on, let's drink. Drink up. The several great heavenly saints were drinking and laughing heartily while talking. In their conversation, they even touched upon the battle against the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. In this battle against the 13 nations of the Southern Territory, we were the main force of the chaotic sea, with the 10 great demonic sects of the Western Wilderness assisting from the side. Those 13 nations of the Southern Territory kept falling back in defeat. If it weren't for the intervention of Heavenly Sacred Palace, those 13 nations of the Southern Territory would have been captured by us long ago. Even so, Heavenly Sacred Palace, despite being regarded as the #1 sect on the barbaric wilderness continent, is focused more externally than internally. This time, the palace master of Heavenly Sacred Palace wanted the heavenly saints of the palace to participate in the battle against the Southern Territory, to help resist us. But it's becoming increasingly evident that more and more heavenly saints are unwilling to join the battle. Without the support of those heavenly saints, even though the 3 great palace masters of Heavenly Sacred Palace are powerful, we still have several late-stage heavenly saints including predecessor Jiao Xian. We are certainly not afraid of them. The 13 nations of the Southern Territory, it's only Heavenly Wind Kingdom that can still hold out, but sooner or later, they will all be in our possession. Yes, it's quite strange. This time the 3 great palace masters are all stationed within the boundaries of Heavenly Wind Kingdom, even personally participating in the defense. Could it be that there's someone they need to protect in Heavenly Wind Kingdom? Someone they need to protect? I heard that a formidable youth named Yichan has emerged from the Southern Territory, who is cultivating in Heavenly Sacred Palace and has even garnered the attention of the three great palace masters of Heavenly Sacred Palace. Yi Chen's hometown is in Heavenly Wind Kingdom. Could it be that the three palace masters are helping Yi Chen, protecting his homeland? For a mere youngster, for three late-stage Heavenly Saints to personally join the battle and protect him, it doesn't make sense. These Heavenly Saints chatted idly while drinking heavily, occasionally heaping praises on Elder Tuashan. The whole hall was a hive of activity. As they spoke of the events in which they had slain warriors from the Southern Territory during the Great War among 13 nations, these Heavenly Saints became even more animated and excited. Their descendants were also enjoying themselves on the other two islands. In contrast to the Southern Territory's 13 nations, where war, slaughter, and death were rampant, Manchuoshan seemed like a haven of peace. Boom! After flying across more than 3,000 miles in less than half an hour, Yi Chen finally arrived above the three islands of Manchuoshan. Is this Manchuoshan? Yi Chen's gaze and divine consciousness swept towards the three great islands of Manchuoshan. At the same time, the might of destruction, from Yi Chen's soul technique, destruction eye skills, pierced through the protective barriers of the islands, allowing him to see everything on the three islands. Yi Chen saw the younger generation of the six major Heavenly Saints playing on the outer two islands, and also caught sight of Elder Tuashan and 5 others drinking and talking merrily in the central island. Upon laying eyes on Elder Tuashan, Yi Chen immediately recognized him. Back in the Thousand Lotus Cave abode, the apparition of Heavenly Saint Qianji had shown Yi Chen Elder Tuashan's appearance, and Yi Chen had committed the face of the person who afflicted Heavenly Saint Qianji and Heavenly Saint Lian Yu to memory. The Thousand Lotus Cave abode, left behind by Heavenly Saint Qianji and Heavenly Saint Lian Yu, was the place where Yi Chen and Zhang Yao first met, and also the place where Yi Chen truly began his journey in martial arts. Both predecessors had granted Yi Chen great kindness. Yi Chen was waiting for the day when he could avenge Heavenly Saint Qianji and Heavenly Saint Lian Yu. Now he had acquired enough power, and now he had finally laid eyes on Elder Tuashan. The day for revenge had arrived. Whoosh! After using the destruction eye skills to clearly inspect the situation inside Manchuoshan Island, Yi Chen drew the divine artifact, Purple Blood Divine Sword, from his hand. With a thunderous boom, Yi Chen slashed with the Purple Blood Divine Sword in his hand, and a heaven-shaking purple sword light streaked across the sky, instantly shattering the protective barriers of the central island of Manchuoshan with a sword light tens of thousands of feet long, splitting the entire center island in two. Boom! 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 Where the sword light of the divine sword struck, the immense force caused endless seawater to surge up from below, fiercely flooding the land of the central island, which had been split in half. Clearly, even the concealed landmass underwater was completely rent asunder by that sword. And Yi Chen's voice echoed across all three great islands of Manchuoshan. Tuashan, come out and face me. Chapter 524 Savage Tremors. This was Yi Chen's first time using the superior artifact, Purple Blood Divine Sword. With one stroke, he severed an entire island. The waves surged violently, the island churned with wild waves, and the earth split open with a thunderous crack. Such a world-shaking commotion had already caused the youngsters among the 6 saints of the 2 outer islands to feel numb on their scalps. They all hastily took to the sky from the peripheries of the 2 islands, looking towards the source of the loud noise at the central giant island behind them. On the bisected central giant island, the 6 saints were even more shocked to the core. Their hall was nearly split in half, and that tens of thousands of feet long sword light from the divine sword barely missed the 6 saints as it slashed down by their sides. This had frightened the 6 saints so much that they leaped out of the hall. Upon leaping up, they realized that the entire central island where they were located had been cut into 2 halves. The enormous waves, lifted by the massive sword force, surged skywards, rolling towards the void where they stood. Needless to say, this terrified them even more, and they all frantically fled towards the sky. As Yi Chen's voice echoed through the 3 islands of Manchuoshan, the 5 fleeing saints incredulously turned to look at Elder Tuashan. Tuashan, come out! This earth-shaking voice was obviously challenging Elder Tuashan. And this earth-shaking voice came right after the tens of thousands of feet-long divine sword light split the entire central island, which made the five saints realize that the voice was obviously emitted by the person who had unleashed the terrifying sword light. Clearly, Elder Tuashan had provoked an incredibly mighty being, and that being had come knocking. The five saints who had fled to the sky, along with Elder Tuashan, all turned towards the direction from which the challenging voice had come. The younger generation of saints who had flown up from the other two islands also all looked up towards the sky. Subsequently, they saw Yi Chun holding a purple-red divine sword, standing proudly in the void. Is it him? Did he sever the central island with a radius of hundreds of miles? Is it him, challenging Elder Tuashan? Not only couldn't the six saints believe it, but even the younger generation was in disbelief that Yi Chun, at such a young age, possessed such astounding strength. You are. Elder Tuashan had just begun to speak to Yi Chun. Yi Chun's eyes were directly fixed on Elder Tuashan, who had just flown up. With a grand gesture, Yi Chun reached out into the void, and Elder Tuashan, who had been complimented and praised by the five saints and was about to assume the position of one of the 10 great expeditionary generals of the chaotic sea after recuperation, a mid-stage heavenly saint, was caught by Yi Chun and flung towards him. Yi Chun's unabated attack made everyone on the 3 islands of Manchuoshan realize, those juniors, the 5 saints, and even Elder Tuashan himself, that the previous action had been executed by this young man. This young man, holding a purple-red strange divine sword, had left Elder Tuashan with no power to resist. Apparently, the tens of thousands of feet-long sword light that had severed the entire central island was unleashed by this young man. Elder Tuashan, in mid-flight, was terrified beyond belief. He simply couldn't understand what he had done to provoke this young man and could only cry out desperately, "Fellow Taoist, please stop, please stop. A misunderstanding, this is definitely a misunderstanding. I have never met you before. Why would you attack me? A misunderstanding?" Yi Chun, looking at the Elder Tuashan flying towards him, grew colder with his gaze. With a surge of vast Taiyuan divine pill chi from his hand, the mid-stage heavenly saint Elder Tuashan was caught by this chi and was violently smashed towards the ground from his flight. Back then, you were friends with predecessors Heavenly Saint Qianji and Heavenly Saint Lianyu, yet you turned against them and attacked. Is that a misunderstanding? In Yi Chen's words, Elder Tuashan, who was being smashed towards the ground, made a thunderous impact on the giant island which had already been cleaved into 2 halves, hitting the right half on the ground. This smash created a giant crater hundreds of feet wide around Elder Tuashan's body as the epicenter, instantly shattering the ground. Despite using his chi to defend, Elder Tuashan was rebounded by the immense force of the chi shockwave, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Even more so, it shook Elder Tuashan's mind to its core. Qianji? Lianyu? Instantly, Elder Tuashan remembered a betrayal he had partaken in years before in the chaotic sea area, after a sword-fighting competition, where he united with 2 other heavenly saints to besiege and backstab Qianji and Lianyu. Was this young man sent by Qianji and Lianyu? How could Qianji and Lianyu have such a powerful junior? Elder Tuashan was still in disbelief when Yi Chun, in the void, paid no heed to Elder Tuashan's thoughts. With another sweep of his hand through the air, he grabbed Elder Tuashan from the crater and lifted him up again. A misunderstanding. Back then, you caused Heavenly Saint Lianyu to self-destruct their flying sword, suffering severe injuries. Was that a misunderstanding? As Yi Chun spoke again, he smashed Elder Tuashan towards a mountain peak within the Manchuoshan Islands, causing the mountain to collapse from the middle. Elder Tuashan, with his mid-stage Heavenly Saint realm, was so affected by the smash that all his meridians and chi were thrown into disarray. He was also utterly panicked by Yi Chen's words. Self-destructing Lianyu's flying sword? This young man really came for revenge for Lianyu. In those years, he conspired with 2 other great heavenly saints to attack Heavenly Saint Qianji and Heavenly Saint Lianyu, and those 2 other saints died in the self-destruction of Heavenly Saint Lianyu's flying sword. Only he had survived. This secret he never disclosed, and those who could know it were likely only the descendants of Qianji and Lianyu. When looking at this junior who came on behalf of Qian Ji and Lian Yu, and having no power to fight back against him, Elder Tuashan was utterly shocked. It's over, it's all over. Could it be that my rare opportunity to make a name for myself in the chaotic sea area will end in this age-old feud? Elder Tuashan, terrified out of his wits, was grabbed by Yi Chun for the third time from the smashed mountain and lifted up. This time, a fiery red sword light suddenly flew from Yi Chen's forehead. The fiery red sword light instantly transformed into a flying sword and shot towards Elder Tuashan's Danjian point. A misunderstanding. This crimson fire flying sword was brought back by predecessors Heavenly Saint Qianji and Heavenly Saint Lian Yu from the chaotic sea. You tell me, is that a misunderstanding? Bang! Yi Chen's words had barely left his lips when the crimson fire, flying sword instantly pierced through Elder Tuashan's Sea of Qi, completely shredding the mid-Heavenly Saint stage Elder Tuashan's Sea of Qi and utterly collapsing both his Heavenly Saint power and Heavenly Saint space within his body. This sword strike utterly crippled Elder Tuashan. No! With a piercing scream, as his cultivation was completely destroyed, Elder Tuashan fainted and fell from the sky, crashing violently onto the ground. From the moment Yi Chun made his move and captured Elder Tuashan, smashing him into the earth and mountains and finally crippling his cultivation, all of this happened in the blink of an eye. Discover hidden stories at novelbin.com. The remaining 5 heavenly saints, along with countless younger generations, had just heard Yi Chen's 3 sentences when they saw Elder Tuashan faint and plummet from the sky, his life and death unknown. Yi Chen's terrifying move had completely stunned everyone present. Among the countless younger generations, many were so scared they hurriedly fled in all directions, while the 5 great heavenly saints' faces turned pale, unsure how to proceed. And Yi Chen's words directly made those 5 great heavenly saints completely dare not waver in the least, even causing the panicking youths fleeing in all directions to suddenly freeze in midair. They heard Yi Chun say, "Whoever dares move dies. Whoever dares move, dies." That was the voice of Yi Chun, the youth whom even Elder Tuashan couldn't resist. Hearing Yi Chen's words, the fleeing younger generations naturally froze instantly, no longer daring to make the slightest movement. The 5 great heavenly saints, of course, could only obey the forthcoming outcome, not daring to defy Yi Chen's command in the slightest. All of them could see that this youth's strength was far greater than any they had ever encountered, including the most formidable being in the chaotic sea area, the late-stage Heavenly Saint of Sea God Palace, Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian. This youth's strength was probably at the true God level. True God level. Thinking of these 3 words, they dared not make any sudden moves, feeling as if their scalps were exploding. Seeing everyone silent as cicadas in winter, Yi Chen's gaze swept over everyone's faces before finally resting on Elder Tuashan, who had fainted on the ground. If it hadn't been for his past promise to the specter of Heavenly Saint Qianji, that if he were capable, he would capture Elder Tuashan alive and bring him back to Thousand Lotus Cave abode for Heavenly Saint Qianji to deal with personally. At this moment, Yi Chun wanted nothing more than to kill this mastermind behind the harm to Heavenly Saint Lian Yu. Tuashan, you will not die yet, but your time of death won't be far off. Follow me back to the Southern Territory, to Thousand Lotus Cave abode. That is where you will meet your end. Boom! Yi Chun reached out his hand again towards Elder Tuashan, who was still unconscious, and directly grabbed Elder Tuashan, confining him within a spatial ring, completely sealing it shut. His earlier move had greatly punished Elder Tuashan and even abolished his cultivation. But Yi Chun did not kill Elder Tuashan. With Yi Chen's current strength, ensuring that Elder Tuashan wished for death but could not achieve it was exceedingly simple, and before bringing this mastermind behind the harm to Heavenly Saint Lian Yu back to Thousand Lotus Cave abode, of course, he would not let Elder Tuashan die so easily. After seizing Elder Tuashan, Yi Chen's gaze turned to the other people in the void. You just said that you participated in the Great Battle of the Southern Territory and killed many warriors of the Southern Territory? Yi Chen's cold gaze swept towards the remaining 5 great heavenly saints. Let me tell you, my name is Yi Chun, and I am from the Southern Territory. Elder Tuashan's debt is settled. Now it's time to settle yours. Boom! As Yi Chen's cold gaze fell upon the remaining 5 great heavenly saints, they all trembled, and them and the countless younger generations all cried out in their hearts. Yi Chen, the peerless genius of heavenly sacred palace? The same Yi Chen for whom even the 3 great palace masters of heavenly sacred palace went to help protect his homeland. He has grown this powerful. As the 5 great heavenly saints and countless younger generations trembled, they all knew that their troubles had just intensified. In the chaotic sea area, when Yi Chen headed to Manchuoshan, he arranged for the 9 great ice sealing guards to escort nearly 100,000 warriors from the Southern Territory and Heavenly Sacred Palace towards the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. Furthermore, the 9 great ice sealing guards selected warriors who were in contact with the 13 nations of the Southern Territory to send messages ahead of time. As Yi Chen captured Elder Tuashan and intimidated everyone remaining on Manchuoshan, the messages intended for the 13 nations of the Southern Territory had already reached several locations. In the Heavenly Wind Kingdom within the Southern Territory, at the main camp on the side of the Southern Territory on the battlefield of Heaven Departure Nation, Heavenly Saint Long Xian, clad in fiery red clothes, held a shining messaging charm in her hand and cried out in disbelief, "Yi Chen is hurrying back from the chaotic sea area to the Southern Territory? He has the strength to overpower late-stage heavenly saints. He's also bringing back 9 late-stage heavenly saint powerhouses." In the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, within the Southern Territory, Palace Master Yanli held a shiny messaging amulet in hand and flew urgently towards the mountain where Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and True God Mulan were located. While flying, Palace Master Yuanli shouted loudly, "Yi Chen, he's back!" As the news of Yi Chen's return to the Southern Territory with resounding battle strength spread across the entire barbarian continent, countless strong individuals following the great battle of the Southern Territory were profoundly shaken. Yi Chen had returned. Chapter 525-. The Battle of the Southern Territory. The Southern Territory's Great War. The 13 countries of the Southern Territory suffered a joint invasion by the forces of the chaotic sea area and the 10 great demon sects from the West Wilderness. The Southern Territory had merely 3 heavenly saints, and their strength was only slightly superior to that of the Western Wilderness's 10 great demon sects, but far inferior to the unified power of the chaotic sea area. If it weren't for the support of the Heavenly Sacred Palace, the 13 countries of the Southern Territory would have fallen long ago. This great war involved the 13 countries of the Southern Territory, the Heavenly Sacred Palace, the chaotic sea area, and the Western Wilderness's 10 great demon sects, and it stretched over hundreds of thousands of miles within the Southern Territory. Naturally, the absolute power of the later stages of the Heavenly Saint Realm had the greatest impact on the war, with the number of Heavenly Saint Realm warriors being the key factor. But the true battle was waged among the countless warriors of the rotating Pill Realm, Spirit Sea Realm, and True Chi Realm. As numerous heavenly saints from the Heavenly Sacred Palace were unwilling to get involved in the Southern Territory's Great War, the morale of the 13 countries of the Southern Territory was continuously eroded, utterly at a disadvantage in battles at the Heavenly Saint Realm level. Warriors of the rotating Pill Realm and Spirit Sea Realm were gradually unable to hold off the enemy, and throughout the entire war in the Southern Territory, the 13 countries were in constant retreat. Across the vast lands of the Southern Territory's 13 countries, smoke from signal fires rose everywhere, battle flames roared, cities were destroyed, and corpses littered the ground. Numerous citizens and warriors of the Southern Territory died, retreated, or fled. The hearts of all people sunk lower and lower. However, when news of Yi Chen's return spread, the entire situation changed drastically. Yi Chen has returned? In the central region, the eastern polar star archipelago, the northern icy palaces and snowy plains, countless eyes were focused on the Southern Territory's Great War, with various intelligence networks and communication methods spread out over the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. Upon hearing that Yi Chen was about to return to the Southern Territory, the first to be overjoyed were those more than 40 warriors from the Heavenly Sacred Palace who had witnessed Yi Chen's prowess in the 5 Elements Mountain. These warriors were already very strong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been selected to participate in the expedition to the 5 Elements Mountain. Previously, during the Great War in the Southern Territory, they didn't really have much desire to get involved. After all, following Yi Chen's disappearance from the Five Elements Mountain, many rumors spread that he had perished there. In such a case, even if Yi Chen had been formidable, it would have been useless. But now, upon hearing that Yi Chen was returning to the Southern Territory, these warriors would not stay on the sidelines anymore. In the Five Elements Mountain, they had witnessed Yi Chen's might. Even Minghua, the top-tier strongman from Purple Dawn Continent's Heavenly Saint Summit, showed immense respect to Yi Chen. Even the little saintess from the land of Lihua was defeated by Yi Chen. Even a true god had spoken on behalf of Yi Chen. All of this absolutely confirmed Yi Chen's strength. And Yi Chen, this immensely powerful Yi Chen, had returned. He alone had the absolute power to call upon these warriors to join the Southern Territory's Great War, all for a chance to show their faces in front of Yi Chen. Boom! 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 Among these more than 40 warriors, those who were already contributing to the war effort in the 13 countries of the Southern Territory were extremely excited. And the rest of the warriors, who were not in the Southern Territory, rushed from all directions to the 13 countries upon hearing the news, immediately joining the battle against the chaotic sea area and the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness. It wasn't just these more than 40 warriors who had explored the Five Elements Mountain that were mobilized. Numerous heavenly saints from the Heavenly Sacred Palace who had either given up or never gone to the Southern Territory were also stirred into action. Yi Chen is a once-in-a-millennium unparalleled genius of our Heavenly Sacred Palace. He didn't die in the Five Elements Mountain. He has become even stronger? He actually possesses the combat power to sweep through heavenly saints? The 13 countries of the Southern Territory are his homeland. Previously, his absence meant that helping the Southern Territory was of no significance. But now that he's back, it's a completely different story. Making an effort for the Southern Territory to network with Yi Chen is definitely worthwhile. Boom! 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 Stay connected through Empire. All these heavenly saints flew towards the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. The major sects from the central region that had been continuously monitoring the Southern Territory's Great War also moved. Quite a few of these sects' strongmen led their disciples towards the Southern Territory's 13 countries. Even if they did not directly join the Southern Territory's Great War or support the 13 countries, these people wanted to see for themselves whether Yi Chen was as formidable as the rumors suggested, and whether he really brought with him helpers from the late stages of the 9 great heavenly saints. If the rumors were true, then they would certainly aid in the Southern Territory's Great War, making an effort to form a good relationship with Yi Chen. As the message of Yi Chen's return to the Southern Territory echoed throughout the barbaric wilderness continent, more than tens of thousands of warriors rushed to the Southern Territory. Among them, thousands of martial warriors directly threw themselves into the wars raging across various regions of the Southern 13 Kingdoms. When the 9 great ice guards led almost 100,000 previously captured Southern Territory and Heavenly Sacred Palace war prisoners back to the Southern Territory, it set off a huge uproar. Countless martial warriors, upon hearing the news that late-stage Heavenly Saint war beasts commanded by Yi Chen were joining the war, went completely insane. 9 late-stage Heavenly Saints. Heavens, in this great battle of the Southern Territory, the southern side originally had only 3 palace masters from the Heavenly Sacred Palace in the late-stage Heavenly Saint realm, and the chaotic sea area side also had only 3 late-stage Heavenly Saints. Now, there have suddenly appeared 9 late-stage powerhouses. The Southern Territory now far exceeds the chaotic sea area in terms of top-level combat power. The situation of the war has completely turned around. The fire burned even fiercer. Previously, with the Southern Territory at a disadvantage in the war, many naturally sought to avoid danger and did not want to be dragged into it. The situation is different now. With the Southern Territory having the upper hand in terms of top-level combat power, numerous onlooking martial warriors with ties to Yi Chen or the Heavenly Sacred Palace, as well as those wishing to curry favor with Yi Chen, from the Heavenly Saint Realm, Rotating Pill Realm, and Spirit Sea Realm all flew towards the Southern 13 Kingdoms. Even countless disciples from the True Chi Realm took flying boats from various places to rush to the Southern Territory to support the Southern cause. Within half a day, those headed to the Southern 13 Kingdoms to join the Great War had reached the hundreds of thousands. Dense crowds of martial warriors, from the central region of the barbaric wilderness continent and even from the eastern polar star archipelago and the northern ice palace snow plains, swarmed into the southern 13 kingdoms like locusts covering the sky and earth. Skyfrost Nation. It is the northernmost country among the southern 13 kingdoms and also the one closest to the central region. The overall command of the Great War within Skyfrost Nation was in the hands of the greatest elder of the mystic Maple Valley within Skyfrost Nation, the late-stage rotating Pill Realm powerhouse, Mo Chong. Initially, in the battle against the chaotic sea area and the 10 great demon sects of the western wilderness, Skyfrost Nation was under the least pressure because it was situated in the far north. However, besieged by 4 great demon sects, Skyfrost Nation had also completely fallen into a disadvantageous position. In the Great War that lasted nearly 3 months, hundreds of cities within Skyfrost Nation had been completely conquered, countless homes had been burned to the ground, and many civilians and warriors from Skyfrost Nation had already fled to the last few cities, putting up their final resistance. All the warriors of Skyfrost Nation knew in their hearts that with the situation progressing as it was, the complete occupation of Skyfrost Nation was just a matter of time. The overall commander of the Great War within Skyfrost Nation, the late-stage rotating Pill Realm powerhouse Mo Chong, felt his heart sinking completely. But on this day, when the news of Yi Chen's return to the Southern Territory had just reached Skyfrost Nation, before Mo Chong could fully grasp the real significance of this message, he saw countless figures cross over from the central region to the Southern Territory, flying into Skyfrost Nation. Mo Chong also saw countless Heavenly Saint Realm powerhouses flying before him. These Heavenly Saint Realm powerhouses, whom he could not have asked for help from before, were now directly inquiring about the whereabouts of the Western Wilderness's 10 great demon sects' strongholds from him and flying straight toward those bases. Suddenly, countless strongholds of the Western Wilderness's 10 great demon sects were uprooted, and hundreds of thousands of their disciples were continuously killed. One after another, cities began to be reclaimed. Throughout Skyfrost Nation, the skies were ablaze with war, and screams echoed, but this time, they were the screams of the disciples from the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness. As victories kept being reported back to the last few cities where civilians and warriors from Skyfrost Nation had taken refuge, countless citizens and warriors cried out in joy and tears. When the news reached the ears of Mo Chong, the commander in charge of the Skyfrost Nation campaign, his head spun. What's happening? How did we get so many helpers? Even more than when the Heavenly Sacred Palace first joined the war. Could it be because of Yi Chen and the return of those 9 late-stage Heavenly Saint powerhouses to the Southern Territory? Heavens! We are saved! We are saved! Skyfrost Nation, being at the very north and closest to the central region and other territories, felt this change most directly. And as countless martial warriors moved from Skyfrost Nation deeper into the southern countries like Sky Desert Country, Tianyun Nation, Heavenly Splendor Kingdom, the entire southern 13 kingdoms felt this shift. Boom! 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 In the grand expanse of the southern 13 kingdoms, which span tens of thousands of miles, in thousands of large cities and tens of thousands of smaller towns, countless martial warriors arrived to help. Especially when the 9 great ice guards joined the most intense battlefronts within the kingdoms of Tianli and Tianbao, it even motivated numerous heavenly saints to rush to these 2 countries. The balance of the Great War of the Southern Territory had been completely overturned. Chapter 526, Blood Sacrifice. Yi Chen's return to the Southern Territory as well as the participation of the 9 major icebound guardians in the war had, with extreme speed, influenced the entire barbaric wilderness continent and, with a speed that many people could not imagine, was changing the situation in the Southern Territory's warfare. Moreover, as time went by, and as more and more warriors flooded into the Southern Territory, this situation would continue to change, shifting toward a direction increasingly favorable to the Southern Territory. Amidst this situation, Yi Chen, who had rushed to Manchuoshan to capture Elder Tuoshan, finally returned to the Southern Territory after the 9 major icebound guardians. In Manchuoshan, after Yi Chen crippled Elder Tuoshan, he also thoroughly used soul-searching techniques to investigate the situations of those 5 heavenly saints and the countless juniors. Among them, Those who had committed heinous crimes in the Battle of the Southern Territory were all executed by Yi Chun. Those who had made great mistakes were also punished by Yi Chun, either by having their cultivation abolished or their meridians injured, varying from case to case. Those juniors who had not participated in the Battle of the Southern Territory and had no faults were spared by Yi Chun. However, Yi Chun warned these people that if he ever found them committing crimes in the future, he would certainly not be merciful. Yi Chun's methods, of course, caused these juniors to nod repeatedly in alarm, swearing solemn oaths to Yi Chun and promising to absolutely obey his commands. Many of them even decided to leave the chaotic sea and go to other domains to cultivate. After completely dealing with the matters in Manchuoshan, Yi Chun boarded the flying divine artifact, the Heavenly Origin boat, and rushed back to the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. Several days later, Yi Chun entered the Southern Territory. Your adventure continues at Novelbin. Calm. After entering the Southern Territory, looking down from the Heavenly Origin boat at the successive territories of the 13 southern countries, looking at those cities that had been burned to the ground, and the land still emitting billowing smoke, Yi Chun's brows furrowed ever more deeply. Yi Chun hadn't expected this war to leave the 13 countries of the Southern Territory in such a state. It was all caused by the chaotic sea area and the 10 major demon sects of the Western Wilderness. Yi Chun had already sentenced countless warriors from the chaotic sea area and the 10 major demon sects of the Western Wilderness to death in his heart. He was back, and these accounts would be settled, one by one. Boom! 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 As the Heavenly Origin boat flew, wherever Yi Chun saw fighting, he would directly descend with the boat and join the battle. His strength was so terrifying that, with just a gesture of his hand, he could change the tide of battle. Traveling and stopping like this and continually taking action, word of Yi Chun's true return to the Southern Territory also spread further and further. Moreover, countless nearby warriors heard the news, came to see Yi Chun on the wind, and paid their respects to him. As more and more warriors came to support the Southern Territory and took part in the Great War, Yi Chun finally accelerated his return to the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, and the Taishan sect after the Southern Territory gradually gained the upper hand in various battlefields. After 7 or 8 days of fighting and traveling, Yi Chun finally flew into the territory of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom and saw the mountain peaks of the Taishan sect from afar. When he saw the familiar landscape of the Taishan sect's mountains, Yi Chun took a deep breath. I'm back! Originally, he had left the Taishan sect because the Great War between the Western Wilderness and the Southern Territory was about to erupt. Under Fairy Jia Luo's arrangements, he went to the Central Domain, preparing to cultivate at the Tai Sword sect. At that time, Yi Chun was just a young man in the Spirit Sea realm. But now, after some unpredicted events, he ultimately cultivated at the Heavenly Sacred Palace, gained the opportunity of the Fallen Divine Sword, and was granted the chance to practice at the Heavenly Sacred Palace, the Deputy Hall of the Icebound Temple, the Five Elements Mountain, and even the Minor Pole Sky. Yi Chun's realm had already directly advanced to the late rotating Pill realm. His strength had reached the terrifying level where he could sweep away all heavenly saints and had the power to battle true God-level beings. With this return, everything had changed. Amidst the turmoil in his heart, Yi Chun saw numerous figures flying toward him from inside the Taishan sect. These figures were clearly waiting for him. As soon as they discovered he was back at the Taishan sect, they immediately flew toward him. Among these figures, the ones in the front were none other than Zhang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan, True God. Following them were Palace Master Yuan Li, Mu Yao Palace Master, Mu Qingqing, Skyscraper Palace Master, and others. Further behind were countless companions who had cultivated with Yi Chun at the Heavenly Sacred Palace and those he had trained with at the Taishan sect, including people like Sister Yu. Yi Chun's gaze met Zhang Yao's eyes from thousands of kilometers away, and in that instant, tears welled up in Zhang Yao's eyes. Zhang Yao had been constantly worried about Yi Chun encountering danger in the Five Elements Mountain. Even after True Phoenix speculated that Yi Chun had gone to the Minor Pole Sky, Zhang Yao's heart had remained heavy. It was only slightly relieved when Yi Chun told the 9 major Icebound Guardians to send back the message that he was coming back. But not having seen Yi Chun with her own eyes, Zhang Yao still couldn't truly ease her mind. Now Zhang Yao saw Yi Chun. He appeared before her, showing her the smile she was so familiar with. In that moment, the heart that Zhang Yao had been holding up for a full 10 months finally settled. At that moment, Zhang Yao's tears flowed freely. Taishan sect, Snowdrift Peak. Countless disciples of the Taishan sect crowded outside Snowdrift Peak. While within Snowdrift Peak, figures such as Palace Master Yuan Li and Mu Yao Palace Master were all looking up towards the summit of Snowdrift Peak. Atop Snowdrift Peak, only 4 figures stood. The newly returned Yichun, alongside Zhang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God. After welcoming Yichun, he spoke with everyone for quite some time and also visited his parents and the Little Maid Tower, whom Zhang Yao and Senior True Phoenix had specially brought to the Taishan sect for protection. Subsequently, Zhang Yao pulled Yichun aside and brought him to the summit of Snowdrift Peak. She had far too many things that she wanted to ask Yichun. Although the 9 Icebound Guardians had already relayed Yichun's journey to the Minor Pole Sky after arriving at the Taishan sect, Zhang Yao still wanted to hear from Yichun himself about what had happened to him during that period. True Phoenix and Mulan True God were even more concerned. Had Yichun truly advanced in combat power to the level of True God? Seeing the looks in the eyes of Zhang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God, Yichun smiled and recounted the events within the 5 Elements Mountain, as well as how he inadvertently activated the teleportation formation and ended up in the Minor Pole Sky. Even as Yichun returned safely, listening to the various dangers he encountered in the 5 Elements Mountain caused Zhang Yao's delicate hands to clench tightly. Upon hearing that Yichun had braved through 5 major cultivation sites in the Minor Pole Sky and even gained the opportunity bestowed by a great godly ancestor, True Phoenix and Mulan True God were left gaping in astonishment. And seeing the divine artifacts and treasures that Yichun produced, both true gods understood. Yichun had promised to become Zhang Yao's support to help the divine Phoenix clan avenge their grievances, and he could definitely do it. Having finished with his own affairs, Yichun then inquired about the real cause behind the Great War in the Southern Territory. Upon hearing True Phoenix say that a 5 Tribulations true god from the Flying Spirit clan was behind the war in the Chaotic Sea area, Yichun's gaze grew cold. Heavenly Treasure Kingdom. The 5 Tribulations true god of the Flying Spirit clan, Qi Shao True God, was seated in meditation in the void, not far from the city where he had uncovered that astounding secret. The large city that once housed millions had been leveled by Qi Shao True God, using the chaos of the war amongst the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. The hidden agenda behind igniting this war was to cover up his investigation into the astounding secret. Capturing this domain was naturally the primary objective of Qi Shao True God. Now, the entire area of the great city was under a lockdown, and nobody dared to enter. Qi Shao True God, sitting in the void, looked at the nearby city domain with an extremely ugly expression on his face. In this period, wars raged everywhere, diverting attention from this domain, which he had thoroughly investigated. From this investigation, Qi Shao True God experienced both shock and delight. The delight was that within his investigation, he felt a force beneath the colossal city, causing even his heart to palpitate. A clear sign that the earth-shaking secret involved here might truly be something countless true gods would go mad for. The shock was that, with his power, he couldn't break through the protective barriers of the secret realm. He could only sigh in frustration at the treasures beyond his reach. This result was, of course, unacceptable to Qi Shao True God. He had put so much effort, even instigating the war in the Southern Territory, all for this earth-shaking secret. He naturally didn't want to fall short at the last moment. With a very ugly look on his face, Qi Shao True God's gaze turned towards the ground below. So many days have passed, and with the war as cover, I have arranged for those 3 late-stage heavenly saints from the chaotic sea to capture for me 1,000 rotating pill realm warriors with the 5 apertures rotating pill, as well as 10 heavenly saint realm warriors with the 5 apertures rotating pill. Now, I have nearly gathered the majority. Once I capture 8 more rotating pill realm warriors with the 5 apertures rotating pill, and 3 more heavenly saints with the 5 apertures rotating pill, I'll have enough to carry out the blood sacrifice. Directly below him, 992 rotating pill fighters and 7 heaven saints lay unconscious. All of them were warriors with the 5 apertures rotating pill. This blood sacrifice is a forbidden breaking method I learned in my clan. Once I've sacrificed these people, let's see if the protective restrictions over this great secret can stand. Qishao True God's gaze once again fell on the city domain that he had completely sealed off from the outside, his eyes flashing with insatiable greed. Just as Qishao True God was waiting for his subordinates to capture the individuals he needed to complete the number for the blood sacrifice secret method, 5 figures hurriedly flew towards him. Among these 5 figures were Elder Kugu of the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness and Heavenly Saint Moya. The other 3 figures were all late-stage Heavenly Saints. These 3 were the strong late-stage Heavenly Saints from the Chaotic Sea area. True God! Something terrible has happened. As these 5 approached, they all shouted to Qishao True God in a panic. Seeing their frantic demeanor, Qishao True God's eyebrows rose, and he frowned, asking, "What's with the panic? What's happened? Where are the people I asked for?" The leading figure among them, the Sea God Palace Master Jiao Xian from the Chaotic Sea area, spoke to Qishao True God in utter panic. "True God, over in the Southern Territory, 9 new late-stage Heavenly Saints have appeared, even drawing countless warriors to join the Great War against us in the Southern Territory. And now we're constantly retreating in the realm of the 13 nations. All of this, they say, was caused by a young man named Yi Chun. That Yi Chun is said to be at a combat power that has reached true God level." Chapter 527 Bloodstains on the Azure Sky. True God level? Qishao True God furrowed his brows and looked toward Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian. Which tribulation, True God? Stay tuned with Novelbin. Calm. Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian, the palace master of the Sea God Palace, was a yellow-browed old man with a withered and lean body. Hearing Qishao True God's question, he hurriedly replied, reporting to the True God, that Yi Chun is not a genuine True God-level martial artist. It is said that he is merely a late-stage rotating pill realm warrior, yet his combat power is absolutely enough to sweep through the late stage of the Heavenly Saint realm. I'm afraid he has reached the level of a first tribulation True God. This Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian, together with the other 2 late-stage Heavenly Saints from the Chaotic Sea, all had restrictions placed within them by Qishao True God and were thoroughly subdued. Of course, just like Elder Kugu and Heavenly Saint Moya from the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation, he did not dare to conceal anything from Qishao True God and directly reported all the information he had heard. A late-stage rotating pill realm possessing True God-level combat power? How is that possible? Qishao True God gave Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian a stern look. Are you trying to deceive me? Even though Qishao True God came from the Flying Spirit clan, one of the 6 ancient clans of the upper realms, he had never heard of a late-stage rotating pill realm martial artist possessing True God-level combat power. This completely shattered his understanding, making him unable to believe what Jiao Xian was saying. Under the menacing glare of Qishao True God, Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian, who was at the late stage of the Heavenly Saint realm, was scared to the extent that he rolled directly onto the ground. True God! I'm not lying. The other 4 great Heavenly Saints, the 2 late-stage Heavenly Saints from the Chaotic Sea and Elder Kugu and Heavenly Saint Moya from the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation, likewise knelt down in haste, all saying aloud, True God, what Jiao Xian has said is indeed true. That Yi Chun, for reasons unknown, is extraordinarily powerful. Heavenly Saint Moya, who had previously had a cluster of his true spirit soul extinguished by Yi Chun, even said, True God, I am acquainted with that Yi Chun. This young man must not be treated as an ordinary person. Even when he was just a minor Spirit Sea realm disciple, he managed to extinguish my Heavenly Saint-level true spirit soul. This child is a great demon, undeniably the greatest calamity of the southern heavens. He must be eliminated. We implore you, True God, to take action and kill Yi Chun, to kill the other 9 late-stage Heavenly Saints. If so, the other martial artists will doubtlessly scatter like monkeys without a leader, daring not to meddle in the affairs of the Southern Heavens battle. Otherwise, our defeat in the Southern Heavens is almost certain. We implore you, True God, to take action. The other Heavenly Saints also echoed in succession. They were aware of the formidability of the Qishao true god in front of them. This was a fifth tribulation true god. No matter how powerful Yi Chun was, he definitely could not stand against a fifth tribulation true god. As long as Qishao true god was willing to make a move, then the chaotic sea region and the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation could still crush the southern heavens. Seeing that the 5 great heavenly saints before him were convinced of Yi Chen's strength, Qishao true god knew that this youth he had not yet encountered, Yi Chun, must indeed be unimaginably powerful. However, at this moment, Qishao true god's mind was not on Yi Chun, nor on the battle of the southern heavens. He had initiated the battle of the southern heavens in order to conceal his investigation into the astonishing ultimate secret beneath the huge city. Now, he was exceedingly close to discovering this ultimate secret and naturally did not wish to be distracted by anything else. That Yi Chun, I will naturally go and execute him. Qishao true god looked at the 5 great heavenly saints before him. However, before that, the matter of my blood sacrifice is the most crucial. Have you not captured the people I asked you to? Hearing that Qishao true god intended to complete the blood sacrifice before executing Yi Chun, of course, Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian and the 4 others dared not utter any complaints, much less raise objections against Qishao true god. The restrictions Qishao true god had placed on them meant their lives were in his hands. It was because of this that they were willing to ignite the great battle of the chaotic sea region and initiate the invasion of the southern heavens. They absolutely complied with Qishao true god's orders. Putting aside the situation of the battle of the southern heavens for the moment, Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian reported back to Qishao true god. Replying to the true god, we've captured a few more of the last people you're looking for. We're only missing 3 5 apertures rotating pill realm martial artists. As he spoke, the light flickered from the spatial treasure on his body, and 5 unconscious 5 apertures rotating pill realm martial artists, along with 3 unconscious 5 apertures rotating pill realm heavenly saints, tumbled out from the spatial treasure. Seeing that Jiao Xian and the others had captured 8 more people, Qishao true god's cold expression slightly relaxed. He glanced sideways at Jiao Xian and the others, his voice cool as he said, "The last 3 5 apertures rotating pill realm martial artists. I give you 3 days to capture them for me. Otherwise, I will use you few for the blood sacrifice first. As for the battle of the southern heavens, prioritize it second. Let your subordinates handle it. Even if we're at a disadvantage for now, once my blood sacrifice is complete, I will naturally help you clean up the opponents." Yes, true god. Hearing Qishao true god's command that they would be subjected to the blood sacrifice if they did not complete their task, Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian, Elder Kugu, and Heavenly Saint Moya shivered in fear. Everyone cast aside the disadvantage in the battle of the southern heavens and hurriedly considered where else 5 apertures rotating pill realm martial artists could be found. After all, although the battle of the southern heavens could help them increase their influence and expand their territory, their own lives were of the utmost importance. Of course, they had to meet Qishao true god's demands first to ensure their survival. The day Yi Chun returned to the Taishan sect, the day he met Jiang Yao Jinfeng and Mulan true god. It was indeed Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian and Elder Kugu, the leading figures of the chaotic sea and the 10 great demonic sects of the western wilderness, who were following the orders of Qishao true god and striving to capture the final warriors needed for the blood sacrifice on the last day. While Yi Chun was still conversing with the Mulan true god and the real phoenix, bloody battles raged in various places across the 13 countries of the southern lands. Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian, Elder Kugu and others had already brought back the last 3 warriors from the rotating pill realm who had reached the 5 apertures rotating pill level, to the realm where the Qishao true god resided, next to the vast city that had been leveled to the ground. With the capture of these 3 warriors from the rotating pill realm who had cultivated the 5 apertures rotating pill, the requirement set by the Qishao true god, the capture of 1,000 warriors of the same caliber and 10 warriors from the Heavenly Saint realm was finally met. The requirements for Qishao true god to initiate the blood sacrifice had been thoroughly fulfilled. With a grab into the void, Qishao true god tossed the last 3 warriors captured by Jiao Xian and others onto the ground, where they collapsed among the crowd of over 1,000 warriors who had already been subdued. Subsequently, Qishao true god directly expelled Jiao Xian and the others from the realm. Guard the perimeter for me on the outside. For these 3 days, No one must come near this realm. Yes. Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian and the others repeatedly complied. They retreated tens of thousands of zhang away, vigilantly guarding the area from afar. Qishao True God's gaze then returned to the massive city not far away, sensing the forbiddingly powerful concealed prohibitions lurking beneath it that even he found slightly terrifying. After that, Qishao True God's gaze fixated directly on the 1,010 warriors lying prostrate and unconscious beneath him. Blood sacrifice. It is rumored in my clan that this secret technique can blast through countless formidable and extraordinary hidden prohibitions. I want to see if this grand secret's prohibition can withstand my blood sacrifice. Qishao True God snorted coldly, and with a grab into the void, 1,010 beams of blood light instantly surged from his palm straight toward the 1,010 prostrate and unconscious warriors below. At the moment the blood light entered their bodies, the 1,010 warriors awoke from their unconsciousness, involuntarily letting out agonized screams toward the sky. Clearly, the blood light that penetrated their bodies was causing them immense pain. All of these 1,010 warriors had stepped into the rotating pill realm by cultivating the 5 apertures rotating pill, and among them 10 had even cultivated to the heavenly saint realm. But amidst this immense pain, they were completely bound by the power of Qishao True God, unable to escape the torment. They could only kneel and howl ceaselessly. And then, something even more horrifying happened. The screams of these 1,010 warriors became more and more heart-rending. Eventually, layers of blood-red light started to appear on their bodies, tearing apart their flesh bit by bit and causing blood to spray forth in torrents. In the end, the eyes of all 1,010 warriors turned blood-red, and their bodies exploded with blood spouts, turning them into beings of pure blood. Even Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian and the others, who were standing tens of thousands of zhang away, felt a paralyzing horror at the scene. The methods of Qishao True God were too strange and too terrifying. Heavenly Saint Jiao Xian, Elder Kuguru, and the others, all of whom had killed no small number of people, were utterly terrified by Qishao True God's methods at this moment. However, what happened next frightened them even more. As the 1,010 warriors continued to scream in agony while blood-red light tore through their bodies and blood fountains surged from them, their blood began to merge together. Following that, the 1,010 warriors, bang bang bang, all exploded at once, each one transforming into a terrifying blood fountain that shot skyward into the void. All 1,010 warriors died instantly, exploded into 1,010 blood fountains, all hurtling towards the heavens. The ground was already soaked with the blood of these warriors. When the 1,010 blood fountains shot into the sky, even the blue heavens seemed to be dyed blood-red by the geysers, the heavens stained with blood. As for Qishao True God, who was higher up in the void, seeing the instant death of all 1,010 warriors didn't evoke even a trace of pity in his eyes. Instead, delight surged forth. Good. The 5 apertures rotating pills within these people are all perfect, sufficient for a complete blood sacrifice. As a gleam flashed in the eyes of Qishao True God, he fixed his gaze on the 1,010 blood fountains shooting into the void. At the moment they reached their apex, he made a grabbing motion with his hand. Instantly the 1,010 blood fountains began rapidly twisting, intertwining in the void like blood chains. Eventually, all the blood fountains twisted together to form a massive blood chain, even pulling along the endless blood flow from the ground, and with a thunderous crash, it slammed towards the location of the hidden prohibitions beneath the massive city. Chapter 528-. The Battle of the True Gods. 1,010 5 apertures rotating pill martial artist's blood sacrifice transformed into a blood spring. The chains made from it were tens of thousands of feet long. Moreover, with the drawn-out streams of blood that coated the earth, the entire chain appeared even more ferocious and terrifying, filled with mysterious power. Just as this terrifying mysterious force, this tens of thousands of feet long ferocious blood chain was about to smash down on the location of the hidden forbidden spell beneath the giant city, the massive blood chain rose again like a living being. All the chains devoured endless air currents, growing even bigger, and within the blood-red chains, Even more strange runes began to flicker. This blood chain, formed from the blood sacrifice of 1,010 martial artists, was not directly smashing into the hidden forbidden spell, but was instead gathering power once more. If there were any powerhouses who could recognize this blood sacrifice method, they would definitely know that such a blood sacrifice required a full 3 days of accumulation. In the end, it would gather a blood sacrifice god chain that was 80,000 feet long and over 10,000 feet wide, amassing a blood sacrifice force that could pierce the heavens and launch a full assault on the forbidden battle array. At the moment, the blood sacrifice had just begun. Its true power was still gathering, still rising, and had not yet reached the optimal moment to break the formation. The Qishao True God was using bizarre means to control the 3 days of blood sacrifice to break the protective forbidden spell that concealed an earth-shattering secret. In various territories of the 13 countries of the Southern Territory, war raged across the sky. Martial artists from the Southern Territory, supported by those from the Heavenly Sacred Palace, major sects from the Central Region, as well as martial artists from the Polar Star Archipelago in the east and the Ice Palace Snowfield in the north, began a counterattack against martial artists from the Chaotic Sea area and the Western Desolate 10 Great Demon Sects. All of the Southern Territory was embroiled in chaos. All of the Southern Territory was a sea of blood. In such a situation, Yi Chen, having returned to the Taishan sect along with Zhang Yao and the True Phoenix and Mulan True God hidden within the void, sped towards the location of the Qishao True God in the Heavenly Treasure Kingdom, where a great city had been leveled. Previously, True Phoenix and Mulan True God didn't have the courage to confront the Flying Spirit Clan's Qishao True God head-on. One reason was the lack of confidence in killing the Qishao True God, who had also reached the level of a 5 Calamities True God. The second reason was the fear that if they failed to kill the Qishao True God and expose Zhang Yao and themselves, they would provoke more True Gods from the Flying Spirit and Zhuyan clans to descend to the barbaric wilderness continent to capture them, bringing even greater trouble. During this time, they had been stealthily monitoring the Qishao True God's tracks using divine spells and secret methods. Seeing the Qishao True God's bizarre actions, continually capturing martial artists from the Southern Territory, they had long wanted to make a move but also feared that acting would cause even more trouble, which put them in agonizing indecision. But now Yi Chen had returned. They had also seen the Qishao True God start his incredibly eerie blood sacrifice, the horrific act of directly sacrificing 1,010 warriors by blood. This Qishao True God, totally indifferent to the lives of the martial artists from the Southern Territory, sacrificed 1,010 5 apertures rotating pill martial artists at once. Previously, the Qishao True God was hidden in the background, not personally killing low-level martial artists, and they were still struggling. But now, the Qishao True God's brutal methods meant they could no longer hesitate. They had to take action. They couldn't stand by and watch the Qishao True God kill more martial artists, bringing deeper calamities to the barbaric wilderness continent. Additionally, after Yi Chen shared the divine artifacts and treasures he obtained in the minor pole sky, Yi Chen, Zhang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God unanimously decided to confront the Qishao True God. With Yi Chen joining them, their combined strength greatly increased their chances of killing the Qishao True God. It was worth the gamble. They also had no choice but to gamble. Boom! 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 As Yi Chen and Zhang Yao ignited the True God talisman refined by True Phoenix and Mulan True God, and unleashed the True God's power, their speed towards the Heavenly Treasure Kingdom became unbelievably fast, and the hidden True Phoenix and Mulan True God followed closely beside them. In just half a day, the four crossed the boundaries between the Heavenly Wind Kingdom and the Heavenly Treasure Kingdom, reaching the outskirts of the massive city that had been raised by the Qishao True God. They immediately spotted the 5 great heavenly saints guarding the outside, the master of the Sea God Palace from the Chaotic Sea area, Zhao Xian, and 3 other late-stage heavenly saint martial artists, as well as Elder Kugu from the Western Desolate 10 Great Demon Sects and Heavenly Saint Moya. Find your next read on. They also caught sight of the Qishao True God at the High Void, who was controlling the massive blood sacrifice god chain. Is that the bizarre method formed by killing 1,010 warriors? Yi Chen, upon seeing the massive blood sacrifice god chain in the void, seemed as if flames were about to erupt from his eyes. These methods were all formed from the martial artists related to the Southern Territory and the Heavenly Sacred Palace, who were killed by the Qishao True God. Those who died were all warriors associated with the Southern Territory. Yi Chun had previously been discussing matters of the Minor Pole Sky with True Phoenix and Mulan True God, and immediately decided to take action against the Qishao True God, when he hastily learned of this situation from them. Now, seeing all this with his own eyes, Yi Chun could no longer hold himself back. Boom! Yi Chun instantly invoked the flying speed of True God's power and, together with Zhang Yao, revealed themselves, heading straight towards the 5 heavenly saints, including Zhao Xian and Elder Kugu, who were guarding the outside, and flew towards Qishao True God, who was in the midst of the blood sacrifice at the center. When Yi Chun appeared, he startled Zhao Xian and the other 4 heavenly saints greatly, especially Elder Kugu and Heavenly Saint Moya, who were completely frightened and jumped up. Yi Chun! They could never have anticipated that soon after hearing the news of Yi Chun's return to the Southern Territory, Yi Chun would personally come to kill them. Yi Chun had no intention of wasting words with these people. He exchanged a glance with Zhang Yao, and the True God talisman given by the True Phoenix flashed with divine power, surging and attacking towards Zhao Xian, Elder Kugu, and the other 3. Without relying on True God's power, Yi Chun absolutely had the strength to execute the 5 individuals at the scene, let alone now with the boost of True God's power. In an instant, Yi Chun directly reached the side of Zhao Xian and the other 4 heavenly saints. With a vast grab of his hand in the void, his enormous true chi completely restrained the 3 late-stage heavenly saints of the chaotic sea area. And then the red fire flying sword at Yi Chun's brow suddenly flew out. Thud! 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 Yi Chun instantly pierced through the chi seas of the 3 late-stage heavenly saints from the chaotic sea area. The 3 late-stage heavenly saints, under Yi Chun's incredibly powerful techniques, further augmented by True God's power, couldn't withstand a single blow and had their chi seas completely destroyed. Then, with a surge of strength in his hands, Yi Chun completely crushed their heavenly saint power, completely crippling the cultivation of the 3 late-stage heavenly saints and turning them into invalids. Yi Chun's move took merely a blink of an eye. Just as he disabled the 3 on the other side, Zhang Yao, who had also made her move, had combined the strength bestowed by True God's power with the formidable combat ability she had honed under the tutelage of the 2 True Gods. She completely disabled Elder Kugu and Heavenly Saint Moya as well. In a single breath, all 5 heavenly saints were disabled, and Yi Chun, along with Zhang Yao, faced Qishao True God head-on in the void. Qishao True God himself did not expect that these 2 juniors could act so quickly. He was reluctant to give up the blood sacrifice he was conducting. Unexpectedly, due to a moment of hesitation, the 5 heavenly saints under his control were directly rendered invalid by the 2 juniors. Given the situation, Qishao True God knew that he could no longer continue the blood sacrifice. The interruption of the blood sacrifice and the disabling of the 5 heavenly saints ignited a fury in Qishao True God's divine eyes. With a grasp of his bloody hands in the void, a wooden puppet avatar appeared beside him to continue controlling the blood sacrifice formation above. Meanwhile, Qishao True God burst forth from the void toward Yi Chun and Zhang Yao. His wooden puppet avatar couldn't properly control the blood sacrifice formation and could only maintain it for a short time. Qishao True God resolved to kill Yi Chun and Zhang Yao within this brief window. Boom! The speed of a true god is incredibly fast. In a flash, Qishao True God's bloody hands reached just above the heads of Yi Chun and Zhang Yao. When he reached Zhang Yao and sensed her aura, Qishao True God's eyes suddenly widened. Divine Phoenix Clan. Are you a member of the Divine Phoenix Clan? Boom! Boom! As Qishao True God revealed a look of surprise in his eyes and was about to strike down Yi Chun and Zhang Yao, the void trembled and True Phoenix and Mulan True God also revealed themselves. The 2 of them slapped their fair palms towards Qishao True God forcefully. Their sweeping divine power shielded Yi Chun and Zhang Yao from Qishao True God's lethal move, pushing him back dozens of feet. When Qishao True God saw True Phoenix and Mulan True God, his divine eyes shone with an incredulous expression. Both are members of the Divine Phoenix Clan, and both are true gods of the Divine Phoenix Clan. Whoosh! Whoosh! Hearing Qishao True God's words, True Phoenix and Mulan True God exchanged a look and faced Qishao True God head-on. While Yi Chun quickly summoned the divine artifact Thunder Gourd, he obtained from Minor Pole Sky, directing it at Qishao True God. Jiang Yao also revealed an ice-blue bracelet on her wrist, its gentle clinking emitting peerless divine light that shrouded Qishao True God entirely. The four of them acted in an instant, all shouting at Qishao True God together. Flying Spirit Clan True God, meet your death. Chapter 529 Divine Transformation. As soon as the four of them made a move, they knew that the True God from the Flying Spirit Clan would definitely recognize Jiang Yao as the True Phoenix and Mulan True God as originating from the Divine Phoenix Clan. In such a situation, the minds of Yi Chun and his companions were all the same. They must kill this True God. Whether it was because of the life-and-death blood feud between the Divine Phoenix Clan and the Flying Spirit Clan, to avenge the warriors who died in the southern 13 states and Heavenly Sacred Palace, or to prevent the affair of Jiang Yao True Phoenix and Mulan True God in the barbaric wilderness continent from being exposed, this True God of the Flying Spirit Clan must die without fail. Boom! 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 The Thunder Gourd that Yi Chun offered was a mid-grade offensive divine artifact. Even if a True God of the Four Tribulations was captured inside the gourd, without some incredible method, they could be directly killed. And even if True Gods of the 5 Tribulations or 6 Tribulations were immensely powerful and could resist being taken by the Thunder Gourd, they would still be bound by the Thunder Gourd, causing them great trouble. On the way to kill Qishao True God, Yi Chun had already discussed with Jiang Yao True Phoenix and Mulan True God the strategy to confront this True God of the Flying Spirit Clan. Now, Yi Chun directly offered the Thunder Gourd to restrain the True God of the Flying Spirit Clan and to win an opportunity for True Phoenix and Mulan True God to strike in earnest. In an instant, as soon as Yi Chun offered the Thunder Gourd, the Azure Thunder Gourd soared into the sky, swelling to 1,000 feet in size. The mouth of the Thunder Gourd was upturned, directly aimed at Qishao True God. From within the gourd erupted countless surges of green-white essence, which instantly enveloped Qishao True God completely. This was the divine essence of a mid-grade divine artifact. Ordinary True Gods and warriors below the True God realm found it very difficult to resist this terrible divine essence and would be directly drawn into the gourd and destroyed. At this moment, even Qishao True God paused for a moment under Yi Chun's move, clearly affected by the divine essence. As Yi Chun made his move, Jiang Yao also took action. The ice-blue bracelet on Jiang Yao's wrist was a defensive item specifically given to her by Mulan True God, entrusted by her father, a high-grade divine artifact named the Starry Nebula Spirit Chain. Although Jiang Yao was not yet able to fully unleash the divine might of the Starry Nebula Spirit Chain, her control over it still momentarily impacted Qishao True God. Both Yi Chun and Jiang Yao, with their deployed treasures, managed to affect Qishao True God. And True Phoenix and Mulan True God, who were about to confront Qishao True God head-on, certainly did not miss this opportunity. In the blink of an eye, the vast divine power within both True Gods erupted, swirling outwards, covering thousands of feet in its fury. Meanwhile, True Phoenix and Mulan True God, with incredible speed, instantly bombarded towards Qishao True God. This assault directly sent Qishao True God, momentarily incapacitated and unable to act, flying backwards 1,000 feet. His defense divine cloth completely shattered, revealing an inner suit of blood-red armor shining with a strange light. This Qishao True God was actually wearing another, even more powerful, divine armor. Boom! Qishao True God was sent flying backward thousands of feet by the joint strike of the four, even damaging one of his lower-grade defense divine cloths. If not for the mid-grade defense divine cloth he was wearing, that blow might have left him severely wounded. This greatly startled Qishao True God. He realized that the four people in the arena were determined to kill him, and indeed had the capability to do so. Thinking this, Qishao True God, while still in mid-flight, attempted to first flash into the void to catch his breath before mounting a counterattack. But Yi Chun, Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God, the four of them, would not give him the chance. Upon seeing that the True God of the Flying Spirit Clan was wearing another divine armor, capable of resisting their sudden attack. The four's eyes flashed with resolve as they once again coordinated their next moves, striking again at Qishao True God. Yi Chun and his companions of course knew that this Five Tribulations True God of the Flying Spirit Clan could not possibly be without countermeasures, and that it was unlikely they could kill him with just one move. They were prepared to fight to the end. Boom! Boom! This time, Mulan True God suddenly produced an ice-blue sword in her hand, and with one sweep of the blade, she shattered the space that Qishao True God was trying to escape into, revealing gigantic cracks in the void. True Phoenix instantly launched a spectacular blue light from her forehead, powerfully striking at Qishao True God as he emerged from beside the void cracks. At the same time, Yi Chun and Jiang Yao also made their moves, once again using the Thunder Gourd and the Starry Nebula Spirit Chain, covering Qishao True God with another barrage of divine power essence. The instantaneous coordination of the four allowed True Phoenix's main attack to hit Qishao True God once again. This time, the assault was even more terrifying than the previous one. The awe-inspiring azure light that burst forth from the center of True Phoenix's brow shot out directly, sending Qishao True God flying over 1,000 yards away. He violently smashed into the ground, and even though Qishao True God was defended by the divine armor, he was struck by the immense divine power in this assault and spat out a great mouthful of blood. This impact caused the ground below to suddenly collapse, blasting out a massive hole spanning 10,000 yards in diameter. Having been struck by 2 consecutive blows, Qishao True God no longer had the capacity to attend to the nearby wooden puppet clone that was controlling the blood sacrifice array. The unattended wooden puppet clone caused the entire blood sacrifice array to collapse. The vast chains of blood all shattered, and countless blood spilled over the city limits, which harbored a great secret. Spitting out a great mouthful of blood had already filled Qishao True God's heart with shock. With the destruction of the blood sacrifice array, he saw all his efforts over this period come to nothing. As for breaking the protective enchantments concealing that great secret, Qishao True God didn't even know if he would have another chance. At the same time, Qishao True God saw Yi Chun, Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God flying toward him again, and for the third time launching a combined attack. Qishao True God had already recognized that True Phoenix was a true god of the same level as him, a true god of the Five Tribulations, who could fight him on equal footing even in single combat. True Phoenix didn't fight alone but instead joined forces with another true god and 2 juniors wielding divine artifacts. Obviously, they intended to suppress him continuously and weren't going to rest until he was thoroughly killed. Qishao True God had a premonition that if he didn't use his trump card soon, the relentless attacks might leave him without the opportunity to fight back, and he could actually be killed on the spot. I can't go on like this. The blood sacrifice array is already broken. I absolutely cannot let these people off lightly. Boom! With this thought in mind, as Yi Chun and the others launched their third joint attack and when divine power and methods were once again bearing down on him, Qishao True God's hair, which had been flowing loose, suddenly erupted with a sinister blood light. At the same time, behind his frame, out of the crimson battle armor, suddenly sprung 2 massive wings. Divine Transformation. This was the forbidding method of the Flying Spirit Divine Transformation, a bloodline taboo technique of the True Gods from the Flying Spirit Clan, one of the ancient 6 clans of the Minor Spirit Realm. Once this taboo method was invoked, a true god of the Flying Spirit Clan who originally had a human form would immediately sprout flying spirit wings, and their divine power would soar. However, this taboo method also had a significant drawback. Once used, all of the body's divine power would disappear after a day, rendering the user powerless for a month. At this moment, surrounded and attacked by 4 individuals, 2 true gods and 2 extraordinary divine artifacts, Qishao True God was no longer concerned about the risks of the Flying Spirit Divine Transformation. If he didn't make a move now, he might not even survive until tomorrow, let alone be powerless for a month. He had to take action. Only the Flying Spirit Divine Transformation could give him a chance to turn the tables. Whoosh! 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 The moment Qishao True God's back sprouted a pair of enormous wings, his speed escalated to inconceivable levels. He managed to avoid the third combined attack from Yi Chun and the others instantly. Meanwhile, Qi True God's entire body began to swell as he flew into the void, instantly bulking up to an overwhelming height of over 20 meters. When combined with the two massive blood-red wings, his appearance became odd to the extreme. This was the ultimate form of a true god from the Flying Spirit clan, complete with the Flying Spirit divine transformation. Experience more content on Boom! After the divine transformation, Qi True God's divine eyes fiercely locked onto Yi Chun and his group. He instantly launched himself toward Zhang Yao, who was among the four. He was on the counterattack to take down Zhang Yao first among the four. Qi True God knew he couldn't flee because even if he did, he wouldn't last under the pursuit of these four. Once the Flying Spirit divine transformation wore off and his divine power vanished, he would still be left with only one path: death. Only by making use of the surge in divine power granted by the Flying Spirit divine transformation to kill these four, could he then lay a trap to survive the month of depleted divine power. That way, he could eventually regain his strength and return to the fray. With this in mind, naturally, Qi True God would first target Zhang Yao, whom he regarded as the weakest. Killing Zhang Yao first and then Yi Chun, he planned to eliminate these two juniors whose divine artifacts were thwarting him, and after that, fight the two true gods. This was Qi True God's plan. As Qi True God activated the Flying Spirit divine transformation and targeted Zhang Yao, Yi Chun and the others were shocked by his sudden increase in speed and power. However, they showed not the slightest fear. Having waged war against the Flying Spirit clan for thousands of years, the Divine Phoenix clan's True Phoenix and Mulan True God were well aware of the true gods of the Flying Spirit clan's divine transformation technique. Boom! 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 The instant Qi True God unleashed the Flying Spirit divine transformation and counterattacked. The originally humanoid True Phoenix twisted its body and reverted to its true form, transforming into a colossal ice-blue phoenix. Mulan True God, too, burst forward with his clothes rustling loudly, propelling himself toward Zhang Yao to assist her in defending against Qi True God's direct killing intent. At this time, Yi Chun also drew out his divine sword, Purple Blood, in a swoosh, controlling both the Thunder Gourd and the Purple Blood Divine Sword divine artifacts. He also flew towards Zhang Yao. As for Zhang Yao, who was the direct target of Qi True God's attack, her body suddenly surged upward. Her waist-length hair billowed out explosively, and an endless divine light radiated from her entire figure. Her wrists, starry nebulous spirit chain, also released bead after bead, each transforming into clusters of supremely bright ice-blue light that enveloped her entire body within its protection. Chapter 530- Spirit Mirror Divine Body and the True Crisis. Qi True God underwent the Flying Spirit divine transformation. Yi Chun and his three companions likewise unleashed their own truly formidable ultimate techniques. In that instant, Mulan True God, Yi Chun, and Zhang Yao directly faced Qi True God head-on. In this confrontation, Zhang Yao's hair grew explosively to dozens of feet long, and her delicate body's endless divine radiance, along with the protective spirit pearl from the starry nebulous spirit chain, allowed her to withstand Qi True God's direct bombardment without taking the slightest injury or stepping back. Additionally, with the divine light interference from Yi Chun's Thunder Gourd and the earth-shattering slash of the Purple Lightning Divine Sword, along with Mulan True God's bombardment, they actually blocked the Flying Spirit divine transformed Qi True God yet again for a moment. Meanwhile, the True Phoenix, having transformed into its True Phoenix form, also unleashed its most potent combat strength, charging directly towards Qi True God. After transforming into the Phoenix form, True Phoenix's body stretched thousands of feet long, and its entire body's ice-blue phoenix feathers ignited, radiating dazzling ice-blue flames. These ice-blue flames traced across the void, burning huge rifts thousands of feet long in the void, and eventually, entire spans of the void collapsed. True Phoenix, being a 5 tribulations true god, naturally had strength comparable to Qi True God. Although it might not be able to kill Qi True God, facing him head-on was certainly not a problem. Plus Yi Chun, Zhang Yao, and the 3 tribulations true god, Mulan True God, they definitely had the upper hand over Qi True God. At this moment, even though Qi True God had undergone the flying spirit divine transformation, under True Phoenix's real assault, he was once again blasted to the ground, his divine body's radiance scorched away in large patches, and once more, he created a gigantic crater thousands of feet wide on the terrain as he spewed out a mouthful of blood. The flying spirit divine transformed Qi True God could not withstand the combined assault from Yichun, Zhongyao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God, and was injured yet again. This situation truly made Qi True God's complexion change drastically. His most powerful technique, the flying spirit divine transformation, was not gaining the upper hand against the four individuals. Qi True God could not have imagined that two juniors, Yichun and Zhongyao, could be so powerful that with the aid of divine artifacts, they could withstand a true god. Nor could Qi True God have anticipated the two divine Phoenix clan true gods would also be terrifyingly strong, especially True Phoenix, who was not the slightest bit weaker than him. What should I do? What should I do? Instantaneously, countless thoughts surged in Qi True God's mind. Having revealed his flying spirit divine transformation and only having a few divine artifacts left unused, but considering the situation, even if he brought out his divine artifacts, it would be doubtful if they could withstand the combined assault of the two true gods and their divine artifact-wielding juniors. Qi True God was rapidly weighing his options, whereas Yichun and the other three were not willing to give Qi True God a chance to catch his breath. The four needed no verbal communication and once again simultaneously launched their fourth joint attack on Qi True God in the crater. Boom! 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 This time, the Taiyuan divine pill formed by the 999 5 apertures rotating pills within Yichun's body erupted into motion, unleashing a massive and unparalleled true qi of the Taiyuan divine pill, rolling out like billowing smoke from his body, swelling to over 1,000 feet high. The divine, mysterious black Taiyuan divine pill true qi shone with 5 major celestial rules divine lights on the outside, the quality of the true qi not much weaker than the divine power of a true god level. Simultaneously, Yichun also gathered together the divine body strength of the icebound divine body foundational 810 forms with the undying divine body. Even the destruction divine might of his soul technique, the destruction eye skills, was fully unleashed. After deploying the 3 major life sign techniques of essence, qi, and spirit, Yichun was no mere rotating pill late stage. He had truly reached the level of the topmost attack beneath true gods. Added to that were the 2 great offensive divine treasures in Yichun's hands, the Thunder Gourd and the Purple Blood Divine Sword. Yichun's attacking power at this moment legitimately reached the true god level, not just Yichun but also Zhongyao, with her hair explosively grown to dozens of feet long, fluttering in the void. Zhongyao's strength was also soaring rapidly, clearly having unleashed a forbidden bloodline divine technique of the divine Phoenix clan. In that period, under the guidance of 2 strong entities, True Phoenix and Mulan True God, Zhongyao's already extraordinarily powerful talents had certainly begun to manifest definitively, and with her precious divine Phoenix clan True Phoenix bloodline, her combat power also became incredibly strong. Although there was still some gap compared to Yichun after undergoing the minor spirit realm metamorphosis, with the help of her own strength and the divine power from the starry nebula spirit chain in her possession, Zhongyao's combat power also soared to true god level. The 2 juniors had already proven extraordinary, not to mention the 2 bona fide true gods, Mulan True God and True Phoenix. As both true gods' divine power fully ignited, the entire sky was enveloped as if swept by 2 colossal divine power storms. Boom! 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 Yichun, Zhongyao, Mulan True God, and True Phoenix, for individuals who truly could be called powerhouses, in a flash once again reached Qi True God. In a blink, the sky shattered and the earth split. In a blink, there was no light in heaven and earth. All that could be heard across the void were the thunderous roars of the divine artifacts, the earth-shaking collisions of divine power, and the terrifying sounds of the void's howls and the land's collapse and destruction. In the end, one could hear the pitiful, anguished screams of Qi True God. Qi True God, unafraid in one-on-one combat with anyone from the lower realm, was ultimately unable to withstand the joint attack of Yichun and the others, and he screamed in agony, Looking towards where the real battle unfolded, it was more than just a scream. Qi Shao True God's entire body, having undergone the flying spirit divine transformation, was now completely drenched in blood, and even the secondary divine artifact armor protecting him, the blood-red battle armor, was torn with gaping holes. This mid-grade divine artifact-level defense armor was partially destroyed under the combined attack of Yi Chen's four-person team. As for Qi Shao True God himself, his hair was entirely disheveled. His body's divine power began to wane, and the blood-red spear divine artifact in his hands, smeared with his own flowing blood, was now covered with bloodstains. Qi Shao True God had completely fallen into a disadvantage. He was even at a life-or-death moment. "You can't kill me, you can't kill me. Otherwise, my entire Flying Spirit clan will definitely kill all of you." The shrill screams of Qi Shao True God, covered in blood, were a far cry from his former glory as he plotted to unify the chaotic sea and planned the great battle of the Southern Territory. His whole body was a mess of bloodstains, and he looked utterly wretched. Hearing Qi Shao True God's words, not a single emotion flickered in the eyes of Yi Chen and his three companions. Qi Shao True God came from the Flying Spirit clan and was a true god sworn to a blood feud with the Divine Phoenix clan. The blood of the Divine Phoenix clan members on his hands was surely not little. Moreover, he had plunged the entire Southern Territory into warfare. Not long ago, he had even sacrificed 1,010 5-apertures rotating pill martial artists from the Southern Territory and Heavenly Sacred Palace. This executioner, this man whose hands were stained with fresh blood, how could Yi Chen and the others possibly spare him? To let the tiger return to the mountain is to create endless trouble. From the moment they acted, Yi Chen and his companions had one thought, and that was to kill this man without fail. Now was the moment to kill him. Ignoring Qi Shao True God's screams, threats, and pleas, Yi Chen stepped through the void and his purple blood divine sword once again surged with unparalleled sword light, slashing towards Qi Shao True God. At the same time, Jiang Yao, Mulan True God, and True Phoenix also launched their attacks again. In a world-shattering uproar, with violent winds raging across tens of thousands of feet, Qi Shao True God had no chance to escape under the joint assault of the four. His divine power was being eroded away, and soon he was merely passively taking hits. Kill him. Even a trace of divine power in a true god can bring about resurrection. Therefore, we must completely extinguish all his divine power. As True Phoenix spoke, a tremendous blue glow burst forth from her gigantic icy blue phoenix body, completely sealing off tens of thousands of feet of the void, not allowing a single trace of Qi Shao True God's divine power to escape. Meanwhile, Yi Chen, Jiang Yao, and Mulan True God began to incinerate every bit of divine power within Qi Shao True God. True gods are hard to kill, but it is also possible to kill them. In the end, as True Phoenix, Yi Chen, and the others completely shattered and extinguished every trace of Qi Shao True God's divine power locked within the tens of thousands of feet of sky and earth, Qi Shao True God met his final moment of death. Boom! 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 Finally, Yi Chen's divine sword brilliance, Jiang Yao's starry nebulous spirit chain divine light, along with the vast divine power of Mulan True God and True Phoenix, all struck at Qi Shao True God, whose divine power had been completely annihilated. The final blow from these four powerful fighters caused Qi Shao True God's entire being to explode in the void, with all his essence, qi, and spirit being utterly obliterated into nothingness. Qi Shao True God, who once reigned supreme across the barbaric wilderness continent, had perished completely. Boom! 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 Only after sensing no traces of Qi Shao True God's essence fleeing in the void did Yi Chen and the others stop their assault. The four exchanged a glance and had just taken a long breath of relief when a dark aura suddenly swept through the void. Immediately afterward, a ghostly apparition of Qi Shao True God appeared in the void, screaming frantically at them, "You've killed my physical body, and you will certainly pay in blood for this debt. I will definitely bring countless true gods down from the minor spirit realm and completely wipe out every last one of you remnants of the Divine Phoenix clan. Continue reading at..." Bang! After these words were spoken, the phantom of Qishao True God explosively vanished, disappearing completely. Yi Chun and Jiang Yao had not expected that, even after killing Qishao True God, a phantom could still appear and threaten them. However, upon witnessing the appearance of this phantom, True Phoenix and Mulan True God's expressions drastically changed, and they both exclaimed, "Spirit Mirror Divine Body, Minor Spirit Realm." Within the territorial domain of the 6 ancient clans, the Flying Spirit Clan's realm. At this moment, in a vast and grand mountainous divine sanctuary, another true god bearing the exact same features as Qishao True God abruptly woke from his slumber and immediately shot into the void of the sanctuary. This true god with the same face as Qishao True God was at the level of 3 tribulations True God. My physical body has actually died in the lower realm, on the barbaric wilderness continent, at the hands of 3 remnants of the Divine Phoenix clan and a junior youth from the lower realm. This new 3 tribulations True God, who spoke and looked exactly like Qishao True God, was like a revived version of Qishao True God, only at a different realm. Chapter 531 – Great Catastrophe Temple. This method, to their astonishment, had been recognized by True Phoenix and Mulan True God as a technique called Spirit Mirror Divine Body. And this new 3 tribulations True God was actually Qishao True God. The Spirit Mirror Divine Body is an extremely powerful divine body. When cultivated to advanced levels, one can transform their body to create a perfect replica known as the Spirit Mirror Avatar, into which the original self's unique soul is infused. The Spirit Mirror Avatar can even inherit the memories of the original body. Apart from being of a lower realm, the Spirit Mirror Avatar is identical to the original in every way. It even allows a martial artist who cultivates the Spirit Mirror Divine Body to resurrect through the Spirit Mirror Avatar after the death of the original body. Although this form of resurrection is not as miraculous as the undying divine body that Yi Chun is still cultivating, which can resurrect completely at the same level, a martial artist with the Spirit Mirror Divine Body is very hard to kill. One must kill his Spirit Mirror Avatar as well in order to truly defeat him. The cultivation method of the Spirit Mirror Divine Body is exceedingly rare. True Phoenix and Mulan True God had only seen it in the ancient records of the Divine Phoenix clan. They had never expected Qishao True God to have cultivated the Spirit Mirror Divine Body. Luckily, I happened to obtain the Spirit Mirror Divine Body technique in the Northern Dark Divine Sea. Otherwise, I would have been truly dead this time. Those 4 people, they caused my original body to die. Even though this avatar has kept me alive, my strength is now only that of a 3 tribulations True God. A 3 tribulations True God was incomparably inferior to a 5 tribulations True God. It was a difference as vast as that between heaven and earth. This Qishao True God had no idea if he could ever cultivate back to the level of a 5 tribulations True God. At this thought, Qishao True God was completely driven to madness. Furthermore, he realized that if his strength did not increase, the earth-shattering secret hidden beneath the huge city of the heavenly treasure kingdom on the barbaric wilderness continent would be forever out of his reach. Even as a 5 tribulations True God, he had been unable to unravel this secret, let alone at his current 3 tribulations True God realm. It was even more probable that the secret would be obtained by the 4 individuals who had killed him. At this point, Qishao True God was no longer hesitant. His entire mind was consumed by one thought: revenge. Revenge on the 4 who had killed him. The earth-shattering secret of the barbaric wilderness continent could very likely be a great secret left behind by an 8 tribulations True God or a 9 tribulations True God. Or it might even be a secret of divine king level. Since I can no longer obtain this secret, I'll report it to the high-ranking powerhouses of my clan. This great secret will certainly draw countless strong fighters from our clan to descend to the lower realm to explore. Moreover, with the remnants of the Divine Phoenix clan hiding in the barbaric wilderness continent, once the high-ranking powerhouses in the clan learn of this, they will definitely send more people to capture them. By then, these individuals will definitely not be able to withstand the onslaught. They will all be annihilated without exception. Even the barbaric wilderness continent may be completely destroyed. With these thoughts, Qishao True God's eyes grew wild with frenzy. The Flight Spirit clan was inherently a bloodthirsty ancient lineage. Otherwise, they wouldn't have joined forces with the Zhu Yen clan to besiege the Divine Phoenix clan. The hatred from the murder of his original body made Qishao True God utterly reckless. With a move, he flew out of the True God cave dwelling, heading towards the gathering area of the high-ranking fighters of the Flight Spirit clan. In the lower realm on the barbaric wilderness continent. In the southern territory, in the heavenly treasure kingdom's 13 nations. When Yi Chun and Jiang Yao heard True Phoenix and Mulan True God explain what Spirit Mirror Divine Body was, their faces turned completely pale. They had thought that by thoroughly killing Qishao True God, they had eliminated a future threat, only to realize that Qishao True God still had a spirit mirror avatar that retained the original's memories and knew everything. If, as the spirit mirror avatar's final illusory image threatened, he brought countless true gods to the lower realm to capture Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God, it would truly be a calamity for the barbaric wilderness continent. A single 5 tribulations True God had already plunged the chaotic sea area into war, putting the southern territory into flames. If more true gods descended from above, they would undoubtedly be more dreadful than Qishao True God, and there certainly wouldn't be just one. In such a scenario, not only Jiang Yao and True Phoenix, but all the martial artists of the barbaric wilderness continent would find themselves in grave danger. After all, they had all witnessed the disaster wrought by Qishao True God on the barbaric wilderness continent. With more arrogant and indifferent true gods descending, any of their casual actions would definitely turn the barbaric wilderness continent upside down. A great calamity. Such a situation would undoubtedly be a true catastrophe for the barbaric wilderness continent. At this thought, Yi Chun, Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God fell into a momentary silence, no longer speaking. Finally, it was Yi Chun who broke the silence. Regardless, Qishao True God was causing harm in the lower realm, and it was necessary to kill him. If we had not killed him, endless troubles would follow. Now, we should first finish the battle in the southern territory. Hearing Yi Chen's words, Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God all nodded in agreement. They were all decisive individuals, and faced with a potential crisis, they would remain vigilant, but obviously they were not afraid of anything. What was meant to come would come sooner or later. All they could do was to make every effort to prepare for it. Jiang Yao's gaze went straight to the ground where the 5 subordinates of Qishao True God, including Heavenly Saint Moya and Ao Xian, had been previously crippled by her and Yi Chun. She and Yi Chun had left these 5 alive intentionally, thinking to use them to completely resolve the great battle in the southern territory. With the miserable state of these 5 leaders, people from the chaotic sea area and the 10 major demon sects of the western wilderness would definitely not dare to continue fighting. The whole battle would surely become the start of the Southern Territories campaign to pacify the chaotic sea area and the 10 major demon sects of the western wilderness. Let's go. We will take these 5 to the 9 icebound guardians still in battle, to Palace Master Yuan Li and the others. With a wave of Yi Chen's hand, he swept up the unconscious 5, including Heavenly Saint Moya and Ao Xian, who had been incapacitated, into the void. Let's go. First, we'll completely resolve the battle in the Southern Territory, then see how to deal with the likely divine tribulation descending upon the lower realm. Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God all nodded, ready to follow Yi Chun and leave. Just as the 4 of them were about to depart, a second shocking event, after the appearance of the spirit mirror divine body of Qishao True God, took place that greatly surprised Yi Chun, Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God. Right when the 4 of them were about to set off, the site where Qishao True God had performed a blood sacrifice, a place harboring a great secret that had yet to be unraveled, suddenly rumbled intensely from the ground beneath the level giant city. These thunderous noises caused Yi Chun, Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God to halt their steps. Previously, when Qishao True God performed the blood sacrifice, Yi Chun and the others thought that this place certainly concealed a mysterious secret. Otherwise, Qishao True God would not have stayed in this location continuously. Yi Chun and company had planned to fully resolve the affairs of the battle in the Southern Territory and to be wary of the possible divine tribulation descending upon the lower realm before considering the secrets of this land. They had not anticipated that this land would start to change now. What's going on? Yichun and Zhang Yao exchanged glances while even True Phoenix and Mulan True God turned in surprise toward the source of the rumbling beneath the giant city. As the rumbling continued, True Phoenix and Mulan True God both sensed an aura capable of killing them descending. There's a great secret here. It's likely related to a higher-level True God or even a divine king. Just as True Phoenix and Mulan True God's expressions changed and they were about to warn Yichun, Yichun himself was completely stunned. At that moment, the inheritance token given to him by the hall spirit of the sub-palace when he had left the icebound temple started to stir unexpectedly. The inheritance token, which Yichun had kept inside the ice-snow jade pendant, began to shake violently. Finally, the token flew out of the ice-snow jade pendant on its own, without Yichun's intervention, and crashed into the ground at the spot where the rumbling had come from, beneath the devastated giant city. Then, the token transformed into its original form, 1,000 meters tall, and inserted itself into the ground. Stay connected via. Witnessing this, Yichun was hit by an unbelievable thought. Could it be, this place is the domain of the main hall of the Icebound Temple? When Yichun had left the sub-palace of the Icebound Temple, the hall spirit had told him that his inheritance token would guide him when the main hall opened. Considering the time, it was almost at the mark mentioned by the hall spirit for the opening of the main hall of the Icebound Temple. What shocked Yichun was that he had never imagined that this place, where Qishao True God had conducted the blood sacrifice and evidently stayed to uncover the secret, could possibly be the domain of the main hall of the Icebound Temple. As this thought emerged, with Yichun still in profound astonishment, Zhang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God saw the inheritance token flying from Yichun's side, enlarging and rushing toward the ground where the rumbling noise had originated. Just as they were about to inquire about it, on the spot where the token had landed, amidst the thunderous sounds and the terrifying aura even True Phoenix and Mulan True God feared. Whiz! 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 5 phantoms suddenly shot out from the ground below. Upon their emergence, these phantoms merged into one and manifested as the hall spirit of the sub-palace of the Icebound Temple, which Yichun had encountered before. This combined hall spirit then knelt before Yichun. Lord Yichun, the main hall of the Icebound Temple has now been opened. Please enter. Hearing the familiar voice of the hall spirit, Yichun was deeply moved. This place was indeed the site of the main hall of the Icebound Temple. The great secret that the founder of the 10 major demon sects of the Western Wilderness had always sought to unravel. The astounding secret that even Qishao True God could not break through, turned out to be the mystery of the main hall of the Icebound Temple, left by the Divine King. Chapter 532- Main Shrine of the Icebound Temple. The Icebound Temple's main hall has been opened. Lord Yichun, please enter. As the voice of the merged 5 spectral images of the hall spirit echoed across the world, Zhang Yao, the True Phoenix, and Mulan, the True God, stared at Yichun in disbelief. They had long heard Yichun talk about the Icebound Temple, and heard him mention that he would later enter the Icebound Temple's main hall. But they had never imagined that the area blood sacrificed by the Qishao True God would actually be the location of the Icebound Temple's main hall that Yichun was about to visit. Not only were Zhang Yao, the True Phoenix, and Mulan, the True God, shocked, but Yichun was equally astonished. His seemingly inconceivable speculation had actually become reality. Since returning from Minor Pole Sky, Yichun had been waiting for the guidance of the God King's inheritance token, but he never expected that the inheritance boundary of the Icebound God King would be right here. Are you the predecessor Hall Spirit of the Sub-Palace? Please get up, Hall Spirit Predecessor. Yichun looked at the merged figure of the 5 spectral images kneeling before him. He quickly helped it up and asked, Predecessor, is this the location of the Icebound Temple's main hall? How come the Icebound Temple's main hall is within the territories of our 13 countries of the Southern Territory? The Hall Spirit looked at Yichun and smiled. Lord Yichun, now that we, the The 5 sub-palace hall spirits have merged. I can be considered the main hall spirit of the icebound temple. Yi Chen nodded, recalling that the sub-palace hall spirit had told him back in the icebound temple's sub-palace that the great icebound god king had left behind 5 sub-palaces across the barbaric wilderness continent. Only after the rightful heir was confirmed, and all the sub-palace hall spirits had returned to the main hall and merged into the main hall spirit, could the true icebound temple's main hall's inheritance be unlocked. As Yi Chen nodded, the hall spirit smiled and pointed to the void, and in an instant, a vast map of the barbaric wilderness continent appeared in the void. On the map, 5 locations were marked, representing the original positions of the 5 sub-palaces. These 5 sub-palaces, with 2 hidden within the chaotic sea area, one in the eastern Starspread Isles, and another in the extreme north Ice Palace snowfield. The one Yi Chen was most familiar with was precisely the sub-palace he had endured trials in, hidden beneath the 9 Nether Pond in the central region. Lord Yi Chen, after you left the sub-palace under the 9 Nether Pond, we returned from these 5 sub-palaces, and the place of return is here, in the territory of these 13 countries of the Southern Territory. As the hall spirit pointed a finger into the void, Yi Chen saw 5 beams of light, carrying the 5 sub-palaces from their original locations, flying towards the Southern Territory. Finally, they all flew into the territory of the Heavenly Treasure Kingdom within the 13 countries of the Southern Territory, right to the spot where Yi Chen was standing now. We do not know why the Divine King chose to establish the main hall here back then, said the hall spirit. Perhaps there are even higher secrets involved. The hall spirit continued to speak. A thought struck Yi Chen. The 13 countries of the Southern Territory, seemingly the barrenest region of the entire barbaric wilderness continent, so much so that disciples of the great sects in the central region were unwilling to come here to cultivate. Had it not been for the war started by the Qishao true god, countless martial artists throughout the barbaric wilderness continent would have hardly noticed the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. But Yi Chen always had a doubt. After obtaining the primordial star scripture, he was transported to the boundaries of the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. This transportation couldn't have been unintentional. It was very likely that there was something valued by the ZG Star Lord, the master of Starlight Tower, here, which was why the transport point was set in the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. It was after acquiring the Starlight Tower and the primordial star scripture that he came here. Now, the Icebound God King had also chosen this place for the land of inheritance. Moreover, after being severely injured, the Icebound God King did not go anywhere else but rushed to the barbaric wilderness continent. This was most likely also no random choice. Yi Chen pondered that the 13 countries of the Southern Territory must have secrets that he did not know. Secrets of the God King level, or perhaps even beyond the Divine Venerable level. Of course, Yi Chen now has no way to know this secret, unless he can find ZG Star Lord and ask him the reason in person. Setting aside the matter of why the Southern Territory's 13 kingdoms have drawn the repeated interest of the ZG Star Lord and the Divine King of Ice Seal, Yi Chen turned his gaze to the hall spirit. The Icebound Temple was right here, and the hall spirit was guiding him to enter and cultivate within, which was the most important thing at present. Ever since the Qishao True God used the Spirit Mirror Divine Body to threaten Yi Chen and the other 3, Yi Chen had been worried that true gods from the upper realm would descend to the lower realm to capture Zhongyao, the true phoenix, and Mulan, the true god. But now, with the Icebound Temple, Yi Chen finally had a trump card for defense. Yi Chen remembered what the sub-palace's hall spirit had said, that within the Icebound Temple, there were 3 even more powerful Ice Seal Guardians left by the Icebound Divine King, the true god-level Ice Seal Guardians. The 3 Ice Seal Guardians were Bing Yi, Bing Wu, and Bing Qi, among whom Bing Yi was one of the topmost beings among the Void Sky True Gods. He was the strongest under the Divine King of Ice Seal and a legendary 9 Tribulations True God-level figure. If Yi Chen could obtain these 3 Ice Seal Guardians, then, even if he was not yet able to defeat the 2 great adversaries of the Divine Phoenix Clan, the Vermilion Bird Clan and the Flying Spirit Clan, he was absolutely confident in ensuring the safety of Zhongyao, the true phoenix, and Mulan, the true god. With this thought, Yi Chen couldn't wait to enter the Icebound Temple to see how he could obtain these 3 stronger Ice Seal Guardians. Yi Chun was even more eager to see what the true legacy of the Divine King of Ice Seal would be. Senior Hall Spirit, did the Qishao True God perform the blood sacrifice here just for the legacy of the main hall of the Icebound Temple? Yi Chun finally asked the Hall Spirit. As soon as the Qishao True God was slain, the Hall Spirit appeared. Yi Chun believed that the Hall Spirit definitely knew the truth. Discover exclusive tales on. The Hall Spirit looked at Yi Chun and then at Zhang Yao, the True Phoenix, and Mulan, the True God, who were also looking at it with great curiosity. The Hall Spirit smiled and said, "The Icebound Temple's main hall is here, and with the nourishment of the temple's aura, this region has always been extraordinary. When one's cultivation is profound enough, one can sense it. A long time ago, the people from the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness, who occupied this region, sensed the aura of the temple. The true God who was just killed by you all must have sensed this aura as well and hence came here. However, it doesn't matter if he was a 5 tribulations true God or even a 9 tribulations true God. Without the inheritance token from the Divine King, he wouldn't be able to enter here. Blood sacrifice? Even God's sacrifice wouldn't work. Now, only Lord Yi Chun is qualified to enter this icebound temple." From the Hall Spirit's words, Yi Chun finally understood why the Qishao True God performed a blood sacrifice here. He wanted to break through the protective prohibitions of the main hall of the Icebound Temple. Unfortunately, all his actions were in vain and cost him his life, as well as the lives of countless martial artists from the Southern Territory. With this thought, Yi Chun took a deep breath and then turned to discuss with Zhang Yao, the True Phoenix, and Mulan, the True God. With the opening of the main hall of the Icebound Temple, they now had a way to deal with the great calamity that might very well descend upon the barbaric wilderness continent. After Yi Chun and Zhang Yao, the True Phoenix, and Mulan, the True God came to an arrangement, Yi Chun immediately followed the Hall Spirit and flew below this region, entering the true main hall of the Icebound Temple. As for Zhang Yao, the True Phoenix, and Mulan, the True God, after seeing Yi Chun disappear, they stood in that region for a while before taking the unconscious Aotian, Heavenly Saint, Elder Kugru, and Heavenly Saint Moya and left the area. Yi Chun had entered the main hall of the Icebound Temple to obtain the inheritance and to secure a countermeasure against the threat from the upper realm for the Southern Territory and the barbaric wilderness continent, whereas they also had very important tasks to undertake. That was to completely resolve the great battle that had unfolded across the Southern Territory. Chapter 533, Heaven-Reaching Bridge. Heaven Departure Nation. A colossal mountain thousands of feet high was engulfed in rolling black clouds. Within the massive mountain, countless banners fluttered, emblazoned with the unifying totem of the chaotic sea area. Around the vast mountain, densely packed flying boats were parked en masse. One could see figures of martial artists continuously flying in and out of the mountain. This mountain was the main base for the chaotic sea area's siege on the Heaven Departure Nation. It was also the largest stronghold of the chaotic sea area within the 13 nations of the Southern Territory. On the entire mountain, there were easily hundreds of Heavenly Saint Realm warriors, while those of the rotating Pill Realm and Spirit Sea Realm were uncountable. But at this moment, all the warriors within the mountain, including those flying in and out, had panic written all over their faces. Just a few days ago, they were all extremely excited because they had been crushing the 13 nations of the Southern Territory in the Great War, with continuous reports of victory coming from the Southern Territory battle zone. But now everything had changed. Ever since the news of Yi Chun's return to the Southern Territory, along with the addition of his 9 late-stage Heavenly Saint Guards into the Great War of the Southern Territory, the whole war had taken a one-sided turn. All the battle fronts within the territory of the 13 nations of the Southern Territory had completely fallen into disadvantage for the chaotic sea area. If this situation continued to develop, the chaotic sea area and the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness would be entirely defeated. Atop the mountain within a grand hall, 8 mid-stage Heavenly Saint warriors sat restlessly. What's going on? Why hasn't Palace Master Ao Xian returned after going for reinforcements? We can't hold out. The territories we had taken over in the Southern Territory have mostly been reclaimed by the people of the Southern Territory. Now, those 9 late-stage Heavenly Saints haven't arrived at Heaven Departure Nation yet, but once they do, we will certainly be defeated. If the Palace Master doesn't return soon, We won't be able to hold this stronghold much longer. While these 8 mid-stage Heavenly Saint warriors were in utter panic, they suddenly heard a thunderous roar from the sky. All warriors of the chaotic sea area, come out to me! This roar was so powerful it even knocked the 8 mid-stage Heavenly Saint warriors to the ground. What's happening? The 8 mid-stage Heavenly Saint warriors exchanged looks, fear written all over their faces. They could sense that the person who issued the thunderous roar was definitely a late-stage Heavenly Saint. Could it be that Yi Chen's 9 frigid guards have already reached Heaven Departure Nation, this territory? While still filled with dread, the 8 mid-stage Heavenly Saint warriors suddenly felt 8 incomparable ice-blue lights sweeping towards them, and in an instant, they were all dragged by these lights from the Great Hall to the skies above. Once these 8 mid-stage Heavenly Saints reached the sky, they saw countless other warriors, just like them, all dragged into the air by ice-blue lights, not counting those who flew up themselves, just those controlled by the ice-blue lights numbered in the tens of thousands. Among these tens of thousands, all the Heavenly Saint realm powerhouses were included. Such a move utterly terrified these 8 mid-stage Heavenly Saint warriors from the chaotic sea area. Even a late-stage Heavenly Saint warrior could not achieve such a feat. Could it be that the ones who have come are, as these 8 chaotic sea area warriors, together with the tens of thousands of other chaotic sea area warriors in the void, all looked up into the void? They saw 3 exquisitely beautiful female figures standing high above in the void. Furthermore, they saw 9 late-stage Heavenly Saint-level sky-shocking war beasts standing respectfully beside these 3 stunning women. The one who had spoken earlier turned out to be one of the late-stage Heavenly Saint-level sky-shocking war beasts. They also saw that Palace Master Ao Xian, whom they had hoped would return with reinforcements, along with 2 other late-stage Heavenly Saint beings from the chaotic sea area, and even 2 Heavenly Saints from the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness, were all controlled by these newcomers, their cultivation completely disabled, now fainted and unconscious in the void. Palace Master Ao Xian, his cultivation has been disabled? And the other 2 late-stage Heavenly Saint Deputy Palace Masters, and the old ancestor of the Western Wilderness 10 great demon sects, Skyscraper Moya Heavenly Saint, they've all been taken under control. This scene left all the warriors of the chaotic sea area completely astounded. These 3 stunningly beautiful women were, of course, Zhang Yao, True Phoenix, and True God Mulan, who had just discussed subsequent arrangements with Yi Chun in the Heavenly Treasure Kingdom and had come to fully resolve the War of the Southern Territory. Their whereabouts had already been learned by Qishao True God and would be reported to the Flying Spirit Clan. At this time, there was no need for Zhang Yao, True Phoenix, and True God Mulan to conceal their identities any longer. They directly brought with them the 9 frigid guards from various territories and arrived at the chaotic sea area's largest stronghold to intimidate everyone from the chaotic sea area at once, to settle scores, and to completely resolve the War of the Southern Territory. Boom! Boom! As True Phoenix and True God Mulan unleashed their divine aura without any concealment, the stunned warriors of the chaotic sea area in the sky now truly trembled uncontrollably. They never imagined that the Southern Territory would not only have 9 late-stage Heavenly Saint Guardians but also 2 true gods. True gods. Everyone understood who had used the ice-blue light to take them out. It was definitely these 2 true god beings. The more perceptive warriors of the chaotic sea area could even see that the true god levels of True Phoenix and True God Mulan were not low, especially True Phoenix, who was a true god of the 5th calamity. This discovery made the warriors hold their breath in sheer nervousness. Seeing all the warriors of the chaotic sea area trembling and even kneeling, True Phoenix turned to Heavenly Saint Long Xian, the most senior Heavenly Saint of the Southern Territory's 13 nations, and said, "Long Xian, the rest is up to you to handle." "Yes, true God." Heavenly Saint Long Xian bowed solemnly to True Phoenix, then led countless excited Southern Territory warriors toward the kneeling chaotic sea area warriors on the ground. A series of binding chains began to restrain all these people. As Heavenly Saint Long Xian and the others made their move, none of the chaotic sea area warriors dared to move, let alone resist or struggle. Here there were 2 true gods and 9 ice-sealed guards watching. How could they dare make the slightest move? They could only surrender obediently. The warriors from the Southern Territory and Heavenly Sacred Palace who had remained standing in the back, along with Palace Master Yuan Li, Muyao Palace Master, Skyscraper Palace Master, and others, saw that all the warriors from the Chaotic Sea area had been subdued. They all knew that the Battle of the Southern Territory, incited by the Western Wilderness's 10 great demonic sects, was finally drawing to a close. In the end, the warriors from the Southern Territory and Heavenly Sacred Palace were so excited that they even screamed out loud. They had won. In the Great War of the Southern Territory's 13 countries, they had triumphed in the end. Boom! 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 When the largest stronghold in Heaven Departure Nation was taken, more news was sent to every part of the Southern Territory's 13 countries. Continue your journey with. All the news contained but one command, that all warriors from the Chaotic Sea area and the 10 great demonic sects of the Western Wilderness must surrender and await subsequent punishment. The order also stated that anyone who dared to resist or flee would be put to death without mercy. When this command reached the ears of all the warriors from the Chaotic Sea area and the 10 great demonic sects within the borders of the Southern Territory's 13 countries, all the warriors of the Chaotic Sea area ceased fighting, completely in disbelief. When thousands of warriors attempted to flee, at the very moment they started to escape through the sky, they were all instantly killed in the void. The ones who had struck were none other than True Phoenix and Mulan True God, who controlled the entire region. Seeing this, all warriors from the Chaotic Sea area and the 10 great demonic sects of the Western Wilderness dared not move any longer. When news arrived that all late-stage heavenly saints from the Chaotic Sea area, along with all heavenly saints from the 10 great demonic sects of the Western Wilderness, had been executed, all these people lost any thoughts of resistance. They gave up fighting and knelt to surrender. Whoosh! 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 After that, figures began to emerge from the 13 countries of the Southern Territory, flying towards the territories of the 10 great demonic sects of the Western Wilderness and the Chaotic Sea area. These figures were none other than the warriors of the Southern Territory, who, after reclaiming their entire realm, turned to attack the territories of the 10 great demonic sects of the Western Wilderness and the Chaotic Sea area. Leading them were the 9 ice-sealed guards. They received orders that the Great Battle of the Southern Territory was thoroughly shifting into a counteroffensive phase, to completely subjugate the Chaotic Sea area and the territories of the 10 great demonic sects of the Western Wilderness, and to capture all those warriors from both territories who had committed heinous crimes within the 13 countries of the Southern Territory. The entire Chaotic Sea area, the 10 great demonic sects of the Western Wilderness, henceforth would be governed by the Southern Territory's 13 countries. From now on, the landscape of the Southern Territory, Western Wilderness, and Chaotic Sea area would be forever changed. Where is Yi Chun? It was Yi Chun who saved us, who saved our entire Southern Territory's 13 countries. Two esteemed True God seniors, friend Zhang Yao, we request to see friend Yi Chun. When all the battles across the Southern Territory had ended, countless warriors flooded to the side of Zhang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God, who were still remaining in Heaven Departure Nation, to meet with Yi Chun. Even Zhang Yao's master, Fairy Jia Luo, who had been participating in the Great War within Heaven Departure Nation, rushed over. Even the 3 highest-ranking heavenly saints from the Southern Territory's 13 countries, led by Heavenly Saint Long Xian, could not help but yearn to see Yi Chun. Heavenly Saint Long Xian's heart was also filled with shock. She remembered the youth she had saved from the old ancestor of dry bones. She could not have imagined that in such a short span of time, this youth could have grown to this extent. This youth actually commanded 9 late-stage heavenly saints and even received the assistance of 2 true gods. Seeing the countless eager eyes wishing to meet Yi Chun, Zhang Yao touched the ice snow jade pendant that Yi Chun had entrusted to her, her gaze turning toward the direction of the main temple of the ice-sealed divine palace within the borders of Heavenly Treasure Kingdom. In Zhang Yao's eyes, there was a mix of worry and anticipation. Yi Chun has important matters to attend to right now, said True Phoenix and Mulan True God, turning their gazes toward Palace Master Yuan Li, Long Xian Palace Master, and others. Yuan Li, Long Xian, I have an important task for you. It is likely that a great crisis is imminent for the barbaric wilderness continent. Go to the Central Region and the Southern Territory, and send a message to other regions of the barbaric wilderness continent, telling them to hide inside their spatial artifacts. They must not come out during this time. For true safety, they can even hide inside the superior divine artifact, Ice Snow Jade Pendant, left by Yi Chun. Soon, many true gods may descend from the minor spirit realm. They are our mortal enemies, and might trigger a cataclysmic calamity. This could threaten the entire barbaric wilderness continent. Yi Chun is now making the final preparations for this event. The words of True Phoenix and Mulan True God left all the warriors present dumbstruck. True gods descending from the heavens. Yi Chun is preparing to resist the descent of true gods. Nobody had anticipated that, just after the conclusion of the Great Southern Territory War, an even greater crisis was looming. As Jiang Yao, True Phoenix, and Mulan True God completely resolved the Great Southern Territory War and began preparations to face the descent of the true gods from the Flying Spirit clan, Yi Chun, following the guidance of the Temple Spirit, had truly arrived at the main hall of the ice-sealed Divine Temple. After the dizziness from the teleportation had passed, Yi Chun found himself standing amidst a boundless void. This void was like a vast cosmic starry sky. Yi Chun saw an astonishingly huge bridge of ice and snow that began beneath his feet, extending into the high skies of the starry space. The end of this ice and snow divine bridge was even submerged among countless stars. Is this the main hall of the ice-sealed Divine Temple? While Yi Chun was feeling astonished, a voice from the Temple Spirit reached his ears. Welcome, Lord Yi Chun, to the heritage site of the ice-sealed Divine Temple's main hall, the Heaven-Reaching Bridge. Chapter 534, Bing Yi. The inheritance site of the main hall of the Icebound Temple? The Heaven-Reaching Bridge? Yi Chen's eyes turned to the hall spirit beside him, filled with an inquisitive expression. He knew nothing of this heaven-reaching bridge. Your Highness, you have passed the trial of the successor in the auxiliary hall of the Icebound Temple, and you have become the sole heir of my old master, the Icebound God King. The hall spirit said to Yi Chun. In this main hall, my old master has prepared many inheritances for you. However, to obtain these things, you still need to walk on this heaven-reaching bridge and meet the requirements set by the old master. The heaven-reaching bridge is divided into countless sections, each tens of thousands of feet long. Your Highness must walk 10 sections of this tens of thousands feet long bridge to obtain the first portion of the old master's inheritance, the heavenly saint-level inheritance. Only by walking over 50 sections of this tens of thousands feet long bridge can you obtain the old master's second portion of inheritance, the true God-level inheritance. Only by walking over 100 sections of this tens of thousands feet long bridge can you obtain the old master's final and complete inheritance, the God King level inheritance. If your Highness cannot obtain all of the inheritance at once, I will keep these inheritances safe until your Highness is powerful enough and has fulfilled the old master's requirements. Only then will I bestow them upon you. Hearing the hall spirit's words, Yi Chun nodded his head. He understood that the Icebound God King had divided the inheritance into 3 parts, to be given according to the successor's strength. Yi Chun also agreed with the Icebound God King's approach. How precious is the inheritance of a God King! If one does not have the sufficient strength and yet obtains such an inheritance, it might not be a blessing but a curse instead. If it were to provoke the greed and plundering of countless people, one might get killed and have the inheritance snatched away before it even gets warm in their hands. Only with great strength can one protect the inheritance and truly grow as a successor. Thinking this, Yi Chun asked the hall spirit, Senior hall spirit, I wonder how one should walk on this heaven-reaching bridge to reach the end. Surely there must be countless difficulties involved, and it can't be that just anyone can make it to the end. The hall spirit shook its head. I am not clear about how the master designed this heaven-reaching bridge. However, as there are 3 levels of inheritances, I'm afraid the further one goes, the more difficult it becomes. No matter how difficult, the walking of this heaven-reaching bridge is probably related to the 3 vital signs of essence, chi, and spirit of a martial artist. Yi Chun nodded again. The Icebound God King designed the heaven-reaching bridge to observe the strength of the inheritors and bestow the corresponding inheritance. The strength of the inheritors is, after all, reflected in their essence, qi, and spirit. The prerequisites of the heaven-reaching bridge are likely related to these three aspects as well. Thinking of this, Yi Chen gained confidence. His vital signs of essence, qi, and spirit had already been tested in the cultivation site of Minor Pole Sky. Even compared to the youths from the Divine Kingdom, or descendants of powerful beings like the little provincial princess, he was not inferior. With his strength at that time, he was likely able to travel a great distance on this heaven-reaching bridge. Moreover, now he had undergone the true cultivation and transformation of Minor Pole Sky. His current vital signs of essence, qi, and spirit, even Feng Luo, the little provincial princess and daughter of the East Territory King from the Star Divine Mountain, would not dare to claim strength superior to his. Of course, Yi Chen's chances of succeeding on this heaven-reaching bridge were even greater. I wonder, to gain the assistance of the three mighty beings, Bing Yi, Bing Wu, and Bing Qi, how far must one travel on the heaven-reaching bridge? What Yi Chen was most concerned about were the three true God-level powerhouses in the main hall of the Icebound Temple. Especially Bing Yi, who was a nine-tribulation true God. She was Yi Chen's biggest trump card against the likely coming threat of the countless true gods from the Flying Spirit clan of the Minor Spirit realm descending to the lower realm. If he can't take Bing Yi out of the main hall of the Icebound Temple, that would truly be a problem. With these thoughts, Yi Chen quickly inquired the hall spirit about the three true God-level Icebound Guardians. He specifically asked about how to take Bing Yi with him. Hearing Yi Chen's inquiry, the hall spirit said, "Your Highness, currently, Bing Yi, Bing Wu, and Bing Qi are watching your Highness's attempt on the heaven-reaching bridge from within a special space in the Icebound Temple. As long as your Highness can walk the second type required by the Old Master, 50 sections of tens of thousands feet long bridge, and obtain the true God-level inheritance, you can take Bing Wu and Bing Qi as your two assistants. As for the most powerful Bing Yi, she is a nine-tribulation true God and the #1 warrior under the Old Master. She holds the Old Master's most precious God-King level inheritance. To take Bing Yi with you, your Highness must walk 100 sections of tens of thousands feet long bridge and meet the Old Master's highest requirements, thus earning the qualifications for the God-King level inheritance." Yi Chen's heart clenched upon hearing the hall spirit's words. He must complete the ultimate trial, walk the highest category of 100 sections of tens of thousands feet long bridge, and obtain the qualifications for the God-King level inheritance to take Bing Yi with him. This left Yi Chen with no way back. Yi Chen remembered that the 9 heavenly saint-level Icebound Guardians had said that Bing Qi was a 6-tribulation true God, and Bing Wu a 7-tribulation true God. The Flying Spirit clan had 9 tribulation true gods among them, along with countless other true gods. Relying only on Bing Qi and Bing Wu might not be enough to fend off the possible descent of a great calamity from the true gods of the lower realm. Only with the 9-tribulation true god Bing Yi could there be hope to help Jiangya Zhenfeng and Mula Zhenshin resist the crisis, to help himself and the entire barbarian continent withstand the calamity. It seems, I must meet the supreme demands of a god-king. Yi Chen clenched his fists and looked towards the endless expanse of the heaven-reaching bridge. Subsequently, Yi Chen remembered the words the hall spirit had mentioned before, that Bing Yi, Bing Wu, and Bing Qi were watching him from a special space. Bing Yi, Bing Wu, Bing Qi are all watching me challenge the heaven-reaching bridge from within the special space of the Icebound Temple's main hall? Yi Chen's gaze swept around, attempting to spot where Bing Yi, Bing Wu, and Bing Qi might be. He also wanted to see these 3 true God-level guardians for himself. However, all was silent around him. Aside from the heaven-reaching bridge under his feet and the endless starry sky, Yi Chen couldn't see any trace of them. "Your Highness, you cannot see Bing Yi, Bing Wu, and Bing Qi from here," the hall spirit said with a gentle smile, noticing Yi Chen's actions. "Once you have crossed the heaven-reaching bridge, you will inevitably meet them." Yi Chen nodded his head. As Yi Chen nodded, in a hidden realm within the endless starry sky of the Icebound Temple, 3 individuals were watching Yi Chen. These 3, transformed from 3 true spirit sacred beasts of true God level, were none other than Yi Chen's sought-after Bing Qi, Bing Wu, and Bing Yi. Bing Qi, a 6th tribulation true God, originally a true spirit sacred beast, three-eyed fire Qilin, had taken the form of a young man in fiery clothes. Bing Wu, a seven-tribulation true god, initially the nine-headed serpent emperor, had transformed into a woman clad in blue robes, exuding a chilly aura. And Bing Yi, a juvenile bird found by the icebound god king on Star Divine Mountain, belonging to the Ice Nether Divine Sparrow clan, had now reached the Nine Tribulations true god rank and had taken the shape of a girl in a pure white dress. Even though Bing Yi was the youngest of the three true god-level guardians both in actual age and appearance, Bing Wu and Bing Qi showed the utmost respect in her presence. After all, Bing Yi was a Nine Tribulation true god, and the icebound god king, who looked upon her as a daughter, highly valued her, nurturing and teaching her. Had it not been for the fact that Bing Yi was unsuited to practice the techniques of the icebound god king, he would have passed on his entire legacy to her. Bing Yi's experiences naturally earned her immense respect from the other true god guardians. At that moment, Bing Qi, Bing Wu, and Bing Yi, all in human form, were watching Yi Chun. In their gaze lay expectation and curiosity towards Yi Chun. They were curious how formidable this youth, who had qualified for their old master's legacy, really was. They were even more eager to see whether this youth could perform prodigiously, eventually leading them to venture into more distant lands as their old master, the god king of the icebound temple, had done, traversing many star continents. Meanwhile, Bing Yi, now in the guise of a girl in a snow-white dress, was also watching Yi Chun. What does this new master want with me that he would have me leave the icebound temple with him? Though she was in this hidden space, she could still hear the conversation between Yi Chun and the hall spirit. New master, if you want to take me away and have me assist you, you'd better put on a good show. Bing Yi watched Yi Chun, a smile flickering in her eyes as she murmured softly to herself. At the base of the heaven-reaching bridge. Of course, Yi Chun was unaware of Bing Yi's whisper or the anticipatory, curious gazes of the three true god-level guardians. He was now preparing to officially tackle the heaven-reaching bridge. The heaven-reaching bridge has countless sections, each tens of thousands of feet long. To walk, no matter what, I must traverse 100 sections. Yi Chun took a deep breath and strode forward, climbing up the heaven-reaching bridge. As Yi Chun entered the icebound temple and began to acquire the legacy of the icebound god king. Minor spirit realm, flying spirit clan. The Qishao true god, who was heading towards the higher echelons of the flying spirit clan, had now arrived outside one of the clan's divine mountains. This divine mountain was only accessible for cultivation by members of the flying spirit clan who were 6 tribulation true gods or above. Even before his true form had been slain, as a 5 tribulation true god, the Qishao true god could not enter it. This was the true stronghold of the flying spirit clan, the gathering place of the flying spirit clan's upper echelon. When the Qishao true god arrived at the entrance of this divine mountain, he was immediately stopped by 2 guardians who were 5 tribulation true gods stationed at the entrance. These 2 true gods recognized Qishao true god. Seeing his hurried and annoyed expression, they asked, "Qishao, what brings you here in such a state? Right, didn't your true form descend to the lower realm? How did it go? When are you coming back?" When asked about the situation of his true form, the Qishao true god, remembering that his 5 tribulation true god form had been slain by Yi Chun and his companions, was consumed with rage. He addressed the 2 true gods guarding the entrance to the divine mountain. "My true form has been destroyed in the lower realm. I've also uncovered a huge secret in the lower realm. Xuanchu, Xuana, you 2 need to help me quickly. Go and ask to see the old clan chief. I have very important matters to report to him." Chapter 535-10,000 feet bridgehead. Great accomplishment of Taiyuan. My true form was destroyed in the lower realm? The great secret of the lower realm? Hearing the words of the Qishao true god, the 2 5 tribulations true gods of the flying spirit clan, Xuana and Xuanchu, were both shocked. When they heard Qishao true god demand an audience with the old clan leader, they said, "The old clan leader has gone to the occupied ancient city of the Divine Phoenix clan, Divine Phoenix City, at the invitation of the old clan leader of the Vermilion Bird clan and is not in the clan. It is said that the old clan leader of the Vermilion Bird clan felt the approach of the ninth heavenly tribulation and plans to break through to the nine tribulations true God using the Nirvana pool within Divine Phoenix City. That's why he has requested the presence of our old clan leader to assist him by protecting the law. Our old clan leader has gone to Divine Phoenix City, and the old clan leader of the Vermilion Bird clan is attempting to break through to the nine tribulations true God. Qishao True God was stunned. He wanted to use the possibly God King level earth-shattering secret of the barbaric wilderness continent to take revenge for Yi Chan and his three companions who had killed his true form. The best course of action would be to report the news to the old clan leader of the Flying Spirit clan, a great nine tribulations true God powerhouse. In that case, Qishao True God was certain that, with the old clan leader's arrangements, they could definitely kill Yi Chan and the three remnants of the Divine Phoenix clan. Now, hearing that the old clan leader was not present, Qishao True God did not know to whom he should report this news. Qishao, although the old clan leader is not here, the young clan leader and several of the clan elders are within the Divine Mountain. We will inform them about your true form being destroyed in the lower realm and your request to meet the old clan leader. Then see how they decide, said the two Flying Spirit clan true gods, Xuana and Xuanchu, to Qishao True God. Qishao True God nodded and saw Xuana True God transform into a shadowy figure, flying into the Divine Mountain of the Flying Spirit clan to deliver the message. Shortly after, a shocking voice emanated from within the Divine Mountain. Qishao, come to the Divine Mountain. I have questions for you. Boom! The moment that voice was heard, Qishao True God felt a powerful force envelop his entire body. Before he could react, he completely vanished from where he stood. And the voice that reached him, he had heard before. It was unmistakably the voice of the Flying Spirit clan's young clan leader, who had reached the level of an eighth tribulation's true God. Icebound Temple's main hall. Upon the heaven-reaching bridge, Yi Chan was walking along the icy surface of the heaven-reaching bridge, heading towards the boundless starry sky above. This feeling. As he walked on the heaven-reaching bridge, initially Yi Chan didn't feel anything unusual about the bridge, as if he were walking on an ordinary bridge. It wasn't until he had passed 10 sections, each at 10,000 feet long, walking a total of 60,000 li on the heaven-reaching bridge, that Yi Chan didn't detect anything amiss. Passing 10 sections each 10,000 feet long on the heaven-reaching bridge meant that Yi Chan had met the first requirement of the Icebound Divine King, and he could directly receive the first part of the Icebound Divine King's Heavenly Saint-level legacy. The fact that he had encountered no trouble was, of course, strange to Yi Chan. While Yi Chan found this peculiar, the Hall Spirit watching over Yi Chan's progress through the heaven-reaching bridge was already quite surprised. The heaven-reaching bridge, although I do not know how the old master designed it, it should not be this easy to traverse. Lord Yi Chan seems to be walking as if he's not facing any obstructions at all. When Ice One asked me about Lord Yi Chen's assessment in the Icebound Temple's sub-palace, after hearing about Lord Yi Chen's performance, Ice One also offered nothing but praise for Lord Yi Chan. However, when she mentioned that Lord Yi Chan was to cross the heaven-reaching bridge, she said that he would start facing trials from the very first barrier. Ice One is someone who knows the true methods of testing the heaven-reaching bridge, so her word is definitely not wrong. Could it be that, after Lord Yi Chan left the sub-palace of the Icebound Temple, he made great progress, which is why he now finds traversing the heaven-reaching bridge so effortless? It must be so. When Lord Yi Chan left the sub-palace of the Icebound Temple, he was merely at the initial phase of rotating pill, but now he has advanced to the later phase of rotating pill. Although the Hall Spirit didn't know that after Yi Chan left the sub-palace of the Icebound Temple, he had gone on an adventure to Five Elements Mountain and received countless opportunities from the Five Elements Mountain, being transported from there to the Minor Pole Sky Training Ground, where he obtained the chance to train left by a divine venerable level character. But the Hall Spirit had guessed that Yi Chan was now fundamentally different from the time he had left the sub-palace of the Icebound Temple. While the Hall Spirit was shocked and speculating, Ice 1, Ice 7, and Ice 5, who were hidden in a mysterious space and had been observing Yi Chan crossing the heaven-reaching bridge, were also surprised at how easily Yi Chan was traversing the bridge. They had not expected Yi Chan to be able to walk this easily on the heaven-reaching bridge. "It seems that this new master is truly extraordinary," said Ice One, who was dressed in a snow-white gown and had taken on the appearance of a young girl, her eyes shining brightly as she watched Yi-chan. She shifted from a casual to a formal seated posture, with eyes fixed on Yi-chan, not blinking an eyelash. Seeing Ice One's manner, Ice 7 and Ice 5 also watched Yi-chan with greater seriousness. On the heaven-reaching bridge. It was not until he had walked over 20 sections, each 10,000 feet long, and had come to the true height of the void, that Yi-chan began to sense something peculiar about the heaven-reaching bridge. At this point on the bridge, strange repulsion forces seemed to be coming at him, as if trying to prevent him from proceeding further. The repulsive force was created by a mysterious aura, one that Yi-chan found hauntingly familiar, akin to the aura he sensed while cultivating in the minor pole sky, from the first to the third training sites. When Yi-chan crossed this inexplicable barrier, he felt a slight enhancement in all three major life vital signs of essence, chi, and spirit. This heaven-reaching bridge truly relates to the three major life vital signs of essence, chi, and spirit. Here, the mysterious aura that hinders my advance, if one's strength isn't sufficient, will block me. Yet, if it is enough, can enhance my life vital signs. Clearly, this heaven-reaching bridge is not just a test for obtaining the inheritance, but is also a place greatly beneficial for cultivation. The ice-sealed Divine King left behind this heaven-reaching bridge, apparently not solely to challenge the inheritors, but also to provide a unique opportunity. With this in mind, Yi-chan pushed forward even more determinedly. He intended to pass through 100 sections of the 10,000 feet bridge to obtain the ice-sealed Divine King's legacy, and to take away powerful allies Bing Qi, Bing Wu, and Bing Yi. He certainly would not give up. Now, the heaven-reaching bridge was even bringing him benefits, which naturally spurred Yi-chan to proceed further. Yi-chan knew the immense advantage of enhancing the life vital signs of essence, chi, and spirit. His physical body's life vital sign was in the midst of cultivating the undying divine body and desperately needed uplifting. His true chi life vital sign was only a step away from fully mastering the third chapter of the primordial star scripture, and of course, he wished to elevate it. Even Yi-chan's divine soul life vital sign, which he felt was immensely beneficial after cultivating the destruction eye skills, he naturally wanted to raise as well. Forward, Yi-chan continued to advance. The obstruction posed around the 20th segment of the 10,000 feet bridge was minuscule for Yi-chan, and he certainly would not be stopped. Even as Yi-chan progressed further, reaching beyond the 50th segment, qualifying him for the true God-level inheritance, the second part of the ice-sealed Divine King's legacy, he did not feel fatigued while walking on the heaven-reaching bridge under the hindrance of the mysterious aura. Meanwhile, in the mysterious space, Bing Qi and Bing Wu, who had been watching Yi-chan's progress on the heaven-reaching bridge, had already stood up. Yi-chan's passage of the 50th segment on the 10,000 feet bridge signified that he had the right to lead Bing Qi and Bing Wu out of the main hall of the Icebound Temple. This naturally thrilled Bing Qi and Bing Wu to no end. After Bing Qi and Bing Wu stood up, Bing Yi's heart pounded even faster. Looking at this, our new master might indeed be capable of directly crossing the 100 segments of the heaven-reaching bridge. Having served the ice-sealed Divine King, Bing Yi was one of the Divine King's most valued subordinates, and she knew all too well the difficulty of crossing the heaven-reaching bridge. Based on the ice-sealed Divine King's instructions when he was at death's door, he had even suggested that the inheritor might initially be weak and unable to complete the bridge in one go, advising Bing Yi to keep waiting for the inheritor to grow stronger before fully handing over the God King's legacy. Now, it seemed the ice-sealed Divine King had miscalculated. The young man receiving his legacy had become strong beyond the Divine King's predictions. While Bing Qi and Bing Wu watched Yi-chan with excitement, and Bing Yi with a racing heart, Yi-chan continued to trek the heaven-reaching bridge. Reaching a depth of over 4,000 miles at the 70th section, he suddenly stopped. Yi-chan's abrupt halt alarmed the hall spirit, Bing Qi, Bing Wu, and Bing Yi, who had been closely observing him. "What's the matter? Lord Yi-chan, our new master. He doesn't seem exhausted at all. Why did he suddenly stop?" While the hall spirit, Bing Qi, Bing Wu, and Bing Yi were confused and somewhat concerned. Yi Chun, who had stopped at the 70,000-foot bridgehead, simply sat down to meditate. Yi Chun wasn't too tired to walk. Instead, after accumulating the enhancement of the mysterious aura of the heaven-reaching bridge over 70 sections for his essence, chi, and spirit, Yi Chun finally reached the ultimate level of the primordial star scripture's third chapter, the Taiyuan chapter, that he had long yearned for. Inside Yi Chun's Qi Si, the Taiyuan divine pill, atop which the 5 great divine arts had finally reached a 10-fold perfection in cultivation level through the stimulus of the mysterious aura. The Taiyuan divine pill had already reached great accomplishment in the minor pole sky. The 5 great divine arts had now finally achieved the same. The primordial star scripture's Taiyuan chapter stated that once both the internal skill Taiyuan divine pill and the external skill 5 great divine arts reached great accomplishment, it would be time to unlock the 4th chapter of the primordial star scripture. Now, that moment had finally arrived. Boom! 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 Sitting cross-legged at the 70,000-foot height on the heaven-reaching bridge, Yi Chun appeared tranquil from the outside, but within his Qi Si, the star tower, which towered over and anchored his Qi Si, finally stirred again after the previous opening of the 3rd chapter of the primordial star scripture. Rumble! Amidst thunderous roars, the star tower once again attracted the entirety of Yi Chun's mind and spirit, fully drawing it into the tower. He was taken to the 4th layer of the star tower. Following the acquisition of the 1st chapter Gang Yuan chapter from the 1st layer, the 2nd chapter Primordial chapter from the 2nd layer, and the 3rd chapter Taiyuan chapter from the 3rd layer of the star tower, Yi Chun finally had the opportunity to obtain the even mightier 4th chapter of the primordial star scripture. Chapter 536, Primordial Beginning. What will the 4th chapter of the primordial star scripture be? The moment Yi Chun's mind and spirit were drawn into the star's tower, countless thoughts flashed through his heart. What he most wanted to know was what kind of cultivation methods the 4th chapter of the star scripture would reveal. When Yi Chun first acquired the primordial star scripture, the ZG Star Lord had mentioned that cultivating to the 4th chapter would lead to a qualitative transformation and achieve the first significant leap in strength, enough to dominate an entire world. If cultivating to the 4th chapter was already so powerful, then completing it would probably not just be about dominating a world, but transcending it and ascending to the higher levels of divine kingdoms in the universe. With this in mind, Yi Chun was, of course, filled with immense anticipation for the 4th chapter. Boom! 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 When Yi Chun's entire mind and spirit entered the 4th floor of the star's tower, this time, he directly saw an extremely brilliant constant star surrounded by countless stars, forming a mysterious and divine, stellar divine diagram, high in the void of the Grand Hall. Explore more at novelbin.com. Initially, on the 1st floor of the Starlight Tower, Yi Chun saw 5 fire altars and eventually acquired the Gang Yuan chapter, the 1st chapter of the primordial star scripture. On the 2nd floor of the star's tower, he saw 5 drops of divine blood, which ultimately led him to obtain the 2nd chapter of the star scripture, the primordial chapter. On the 3rd floor of the star's tower, when Yi Chun obtained the Taiyuan chapter, he saw a starry fog that twinkled like stars. Yi Chun never expected that he would directly see the real stars in this 4th floor, seeing the vast, stellar divine diagram. Just as Yi Chun was gazing at the stellar divine diagram, trying to figure out what the brilliant constant star and the countless stars surrounding it signified, the entire diagram shone out endless light, and in the radiance, he could see visible characters flying towards his mind and spirit. In the end, they all entered Yi Chun's mind and spirit. These characters turned out to be the cultivation method of the 4th chapter of the primordial star scripture. As Yi Chun looked into this cultivation technique, he saw countless characters saying, the Gang Yuan chapter, primordial chapter, and Taiyuan chapter, the methods of cultivation, are all confined within the Qi Si, within one world. Cultivating to the 4th chapter will transcend the Qi Si, transcend one world. Internally, cultivation will expand from the Qi Si to the entire physical body universe. Externally, strength will also move from one world to the true cosmos and stars. Starting from the 4th chapter, one will officially step into the intermediate stage of cultivating the primordial star scripture. The fourth chapter of the primordial star scripture is called Primordial Beginning Chapter. When he saw the three characters, Primordial Beginning Chapter, Yi Chen's heart trembled. He had thought that after the Gang Yuan chapter, Primordial chapter, and Taiyuan chapter, there would be another certain Yuan chapter. But to his surprise, it turned out to be the Primordial Beginning chapter that started with the character for Primordial. Yi Chen was even more surprised to find out that the Primordial Beginning chapter marked the entry into the intermediate stage of the Primordial Star Scriptures cultivation. Gang Yuan chapter, Primordial chapter, Taiyuan chapter, Primordial Beginning chapter. This Primordial Beginning chapter says it will expand cultivation from the Qi Si to the entire physical body universe. But how is it to be cultivated? Yi Chen could not help but take a closer look at the cultivation methods of the fourth chapter of the Primordial Star Scripture. Upon looking, Yi Chen was also startled. He had not anticipated that the method of cultivation in the fourth chapter would be even more miraculous than the first three chapters. This fourth chapter turns out to be identical to the stellar divine diagram I'm now viewing on the fourth floor of the Starlight Tower, which actually requires cultivating such a stellar divine diagram within the physical body. The fourth chapter, the Primordial Beginning chapter, is based on the Primordial Divine Pill, which is cultivated to the extreme in the third chapter, further transforming the Primordial Divine Pill into a primordial star. At the same time, the 5 great divine arts are operated to create stellar vortex spaces within the body. With every stellar vortex space created, a star's stellar power can be directly drawn from the stellar divine diagram into the stellar vortex inside the body, and simultaneously, the Taiyuan divine pill can also absorb the constant star power within the stellar divine diagram, evolving towards a primordial star. Ultimately, forming within the body a cultivation secret diagram with the primordial star at its core and the boundless stellar power hidden within countless stellar vortex spaces as innumerable stars. Once the Primordial Beginning chapter is cultivated to great accomplishment, the entire stellar divine diagram on the fourth floor will be fully manifested within the body and eventually communicate with the external universe. By then, it will be possible to step into the fifth chapter of the Primordial Star Scripture. Looking at this, Yi Chen's gaze once again turned to the mysterious stellar divine diagram, high in the void of the fourth floor of the Starlight Tower. Yi Chen hadn't expected that the cultivation method of this fourth chapter, the Primordial Beginning chapter, would actually involve absorbing the endless number of stars and the central constant star power from this stellar divine diagram into his body, allowing the patterns of stars to be displayed within. Yi Chen saw that there are perhaps thousands, even millions of stars within this stellar divine diagram on the fourth floor. Could it be that one has to absorb such an enormous amount of stellar power into the body? Doesn't that mean that one has to create thousands, perhaps millions of stellar vortex spaces within the body? Yi Chen further considered that the stellar power within this stellar divine diagram must be incredibly powerful, or else it wouldn't be placed in the fourth floor of the Starlight Tower. Once he absorbs so much stellar power into the countless stellar vortices within his body, his true combat power will surely reach an unbelievable level. Sweeping through true gods might well be entirely possible. Otherwise, it would not be said that after cultivating the fourth chapter, one's strength could advance from the level of a continent to that of the true cosmic stellar level. At this thought, Yi Chen's mind and spirit were both shaken. Of course, he wanted to further increase his strength, and he hadn't expected that the fourth chapter of the Primordial Star Scripture would indeed make this possible. Yi Chen could no longer resist beginning the cultivation of this fourth chapter's cultivation method. Outside, Yi Chen's body was still sitting cross-legged on the heaven-reaching bridge. Within the Starlight Tower, however, Yi Chen focused his entire mind and spirit on the stellar divine diagram of the fourth floor, starting to connect his whole body with the stellar divine diagram, according to the cultivation methods inside. Only after the body is fully connected with the stellar divine diagram can he open stellar vortices within the body and directly draw the stellar power from the stellar divine diagram into the stellar vortices within the body. As Yi Chen's body entered into communication with the stellar divine diagram, the Taiyuan divine pill, within his Qi Si, and his cultivation of the 5 great divine arts began to run wildly. Even without having fully completed the communication with the stellar divine diagram, the first change had occurred within him. That is, in the mysterious cultivation place of Minor Pole Sky, with the help of the Chenya platform and the law C obtained through cultivation, the bottleneck he had reached, already at the limit of understanding the 5 great heavenly void laws and assaulting the heavenly saint realm, finally began to loosen. This signified that Yi Chun had the opportunity to assault the heavenly saint realm. Yi Chun was actually bestowed with the chance to assault the heavenly saint realm while cultivating the 4th chapter of the primordial star scripture. Even without having completed the opening of the first stellar vortex in the primordial beginning chapter, Yi Chun was about to set foot into the heavenly saint realm first. Chapter 537-. True God descends to the lower realm. Heavenly saint realm. The highest realm that can be cultivated on the lower realm continent. Only after cultivating one of the void heaven laws to its utmost limit can one step into the heavenly saint realm. And to simultaneously cultivate all 5 of the major void heaven laws to their utmost limit and step into the heavenly saint realm is even more exceedingly difficult. If it weren't for Yi Chun having spent 3 years cultivating in the Icebound Temple Subpalace under a 100-fold accelerated time flow, having had the opportunity to comprehend from the 9th ancient steel at the 5 Elements Mountain, and reaping great rewards at Chenya Platform Law C, in the Minor Pole Sky True Qi Law cultivation site, it would have been utterly impossible for Yi Chun to bring all 5 major void heaven laws to their ultimate extent. However, even with countless days of arduous cultivation and numerous opportunities grasped to perfect the 5 major void heaven laws, Yi Chun did not achieve heavenly saint at the first opportunity. Because Yi Chun knows that the primordial star scripture he cultivates corresponds with various major martial arts realms and is a method of cultivation that transcends martial arts realms. Only by cultivating his own martial arts realm to its limit and simultaneously perfecting the corresponding chapter of primordial star scripture could he have sufficient opportunity to delve into the layer beneath the 5 martial arts realms. This demand is thousands of times more difficult than a mere realm breakthrough. After all, whether it is the comprehension of the void heaven law to great perfection required for the breakthrough to heavenly saint realm or the cultivation of the Taiyuan divine pill, and the 5 great divine arts to great accomplishment needed for the Taiyuan chapter of the primordial star scripture, both are unquestionably very difficult tasks. But Yi Chun did it. After countless days of painstaking cultivation and undergoing transformation after transformation in battle, he finally did it. He not only cultivated the Taiyuan divine pill and the 5 great divine arts to great accomplishment, but also achieved great accomplishment in the rotating pill realm. He finally met the criteria for a breakthrough. Now it was time for him to reap the rewards. He would not only break through to the 4th chapter of the primordial star scripture, but also to the 4th grand martial arts realm, heavenly saint realm. As soon as Yi Chun succeeded in breaking through to the heavenly saint realm, from then on Yi Chun would be a heavenly saint, a prominent figure of the highest realm on the lower realm continent. Boom! 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 When the bottleneck of the heavenly saint realm loosened and the opportunity to break through arrived, Yi Chun, sitting in meditation, remained neither sorrowful nor joyful, his mind and spirit completely serene. Yi Chun momentarily set aside the process of connecting with the stellar divine diagram, and instead entered into the assault on the heavenly saint realm. The assault on the heavenly saint realm involves using the power of the void heaven law, understood to the utmost limit, to guide the transformation of the true Qi power throughout the Qi Si into the unique heavenly saint power of a heavenly saint realm power holder. Only by transforming all of the true Qi power into heavenly saint power can one truly step into the heavenly saint realm and become an early-stage heavenly saint power holder. Typical heavenly saints use the power of a single void heaven law to guide the transformation of true Qi. But Yi Chun, he had fully comprehended 5 major void heaven laws to perfection. His guidance naturally caused a storm of all 5 major void heaven laws within the Qi Si at once. Boom! 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 Like the heavens shattering and the earth splitting. Above the heaven-reaching bridge, Yi Chun's body began to emanate the divine aura of all 5 major void heaven laws. Within his body, in the Qi Si, the assault on the heavenly saint realm truly began. Inside the main hall of the Icebound Temple, when the hall spirit Bing-Chi, Bing-Wu, and Bing-Yi, who were observing the heaven-reaching bridge, saw Yi-Chun seated there and no longer challenging the bridge, they were initially greatly worried. But when Yi-Chun truly started his assault on the heavenly saint realm, the bizarre changes in the aura around his body let the exceptionally knowledgeable hall spirit Bing-Chi, Bing-Wu, and Bing-Yi know that Yi-Chun was in the midst of a realm breakthrough. Stay updated through novelbin.com. Bing-Chi, Bing-Wu, and Bing-Yi were all true God realm power holders. The hall spirit was also a divine sense spirit that had followed the divine king of the Icebound Temple across countless territories. They had, of course, witnessed numerous instances of rotating pill realm martial artists making their assault on the heavenly saint realm. They immediately realized that Yi-Chun was challenging the heavenly saint realm. But Yi-Chun's situation completely shocked them. What stunned them was not that Yi-Chun was attempting a realm breakthrough while challenging the heaven-reaching bridge, but that Yi-Chun, at the mere age of 16 or 17, was actually about to step into the heavenly saint realm, and he was doing it by fully perfecting all 5 major void heaven laws for his assault on the heavenly saint realm. To think that breaking through to the heavenly saint realm after perfecting all 5 major void heaven laws, let's not say the lower realm continent, even in a plane like the minor spirit realm in the upper realm, it was very rare for someone to directly achieve this level. More often, one would first step into the heavenly saint realm with 1 or 2 maximally perfected void heaven laws, and only then make up for the deficiencies of other void heaven laws after being in the heavenly saint realm. To be able to break through to the heavenly saint realm by perfecting all 5 major void heaven laws to perfection is something that perhaps only the offspring of the great power holders of the divine kingdom could accomplish. Not to mention Yi-Chun's age. At his age, to be able to assault the heavenly saint realm after mastering all 5 major void heaven laws to perfection, even within the divine kingdom, he would be considered to possess extremely high talent. Knowing that Yi-Chun's identity was that of a lower realm continent martial artist, Bing-Chi, Bing-Wu, Bing-Yi, and the hall spirit were all astounded beyond measure. Heavenly Saint. Once one achieves Heavenly Saint, their strength will undergo a drastic change. This new master, he originally traversed the heaven-reaching bridge with unmatched ease, and it's very possible he could meet the old master's highest expectations. If he succeeds in assaulting the heavenly saint realm, he might very well fulfill the old master's ultimate demands. At this moment, Bing-Yi, dressed in snow-white garments and bearing the visage of a young girl, just like Bing-Chi and Bing-Wu, also stood up excitedly. Her eyes were fixedly staring at Yi-Chun, who was in the midst of breaking through the realm. She was attentively tracking every slight change in Yi-Chun's chi. While Yi-Chun was traversing the heaven-reaching bridge in the main hall of the Icebound Temple beneath the Heavenly Treasure Kingdom, training to break through and accepting the inheritance of the Ice Seal Divine King to raise his power and prepare for the possible threats from the upper realm, the 13 countries of the Southern Territory were already abuzz. The commotion was partly because, under the surprise attack of Yi-Chun, and after the emergence of 2 true gods, the joint forces of the Chaotic Sea area and the 10 demon sects of the Western Wilderness were thoroughly defeated, bringing immense joy to countless martial artists and citizens of the Southern Territory. On the other hand, countless martial artists received orders from the 2 true gods to begin rallying the warriors and citizens of the 13 countries of the Southern Territory to take refuge inside spatial treasures. The freshly minted heroes who saved the Southern Territory instructed, especially regarding another great calamity, naturally compelling countless people to comply and enter the spatial treasures. Afterward, these spatial treasures, along with countless heavenly saints, were hidden inside the Ice Snow Jade Pendant given to Zhang Yao by Yi-Chun. The Ice Snow Jade Pendant is a top-grade divine artifact left by the Ice Seal Divine King. Even a 9 Tribulations true god might not be powerful enough to destroy it. Before entering the main hall of the Icebound Temple, Yi-Chun discussed with Zhang Yao, the true phoenix, and Mulan true god the first point of his plan. Before he could bring back a 9 Tribulations true god helper, he would try to hide as many people as possible inside the Ice Snow Jade Pendant. The Ice Snow Jade Pendant, forged by a divine king, has immense space inside. Coupled with the help of other spatial treasures, it can conceal countless people. Whether or not the threat from the upper realm comes, taking refuge here first is the safest option. Phew! 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 One by one, the heavenly saints, following the orders of Zhang Yao, the true phoenix, and Mulan true god under the direction of Palace Master Yuan Li and others, swiftly arranged for people from all realms to hide in batches. After the 9 Ice Seal Guardians resolved the matter with the Western Wilderness and Chaotic Sea area, they too engaged in the efforts to find refuge from the impending calamity. Ultimately, not only was the Southern Territory making preparations, but upon hearing that a great number of true gods might descend from the minor spirit realm, potentially threatening countless people's safety, martial artists from the central region, the Polar Star Archipelago in the east, and the Ice Palace Snowfield in the north also began urgent preparations just like those in the Southern Territory. The entire barbaric wilderness continent was in an uproar and turmoil, except for a few who didn't believe that a large number of true gods would really descend to the barbaric wilderness continent and bring a calamity. Within a day, nearly everyone had found a way to hide, entering into spatial treasures and concealing themselves all over the barbaric wilderness continent, no longer revealing themselves. Amidst all the preparations on the barbaric wilderness continent, in the upper realm, within the minor spirit realm, the Qishao true god, who had entered the divine mountain of the Flying Spirit clan, once again flew out from the mountain. A smile appeared on his face, because the young clan leader of the Flying Spirit clan, a powerful 8th Tribulation's true god, after hearing his report of the divine Phoenix clan remnants in the lower realm, and particularly after hearing about the appearances of the 3 women, speculated that among these women might be the legendary missing princess of the divine Phoenix clan. Interested by this possibility, the young clan leader became inclined to descend to the lower realm. And upon hearing about a possible divine king-level secret on the lower realm's continent, the young clan leader was even more resolved to descend himself to investigate what could well be a secret of the divine king level. The young clan leader also promised that if what Qishao true god had reported was true, he would massacre the barbaric wilderness continent to avenge the destruction of Qishao's original form. This of course brought immense satisfaction to Qishao true god. With the young clan leader's words, Qishao true god was utterly confident that the youth and the 3 women of the divine Phoenix clan, who had caused his original form's demise, could not withstand the descent of the truly strong beings from the Flying Spirit clan. The 4 were at most a 5 Tribulations true god, and even combined, they were only just able to defeat him. Should a 6 Tribulations true god descend, it would be enough to strike down all 4 of them. Qishao true god even surmised that knowing about the remnants of the divine Phoenix clan and the divine king-level secret, the young clan leader would certainly send more than 1 6 Tribulations true god. Fearing the secret of the divine king level, it was even possible that the young clan leader himself would descend to investigate. Leaving the divine mountain of the Flying Spirit clan and returning to his cultivation cave abode, Qishao true god was eagerly awaiting this moment. After he reported the news to the young clan leader, the leader immediately went to Divine Phoenix City to report the matter to the old clan leader of the Flying Spirit clan. With the realm of the young clan leader as an 8th Tribulations true god, Qishao true god believed it would not take long for an order to come back to the Flying Spirit clan. Indeed, Qishao true god's guess was accurate. Only 3 days after he reported to the young clan leader, the leader returned from Divine Phoenix City to the Flying Spirit clan. The young clan leader also gathered him and several hundred other true gods. "Follow me. We will all descend to that barbaric wilderness continent. Accompany me to unlock a great secret land. Should we gain anything, I will reward each and every one of you." Boom! As the young clan leader's voice echoed through the grand hall of the Flying Spirit clan's council, and upon seeing that among those several hundred true gods, there were many at the 6 Tribulations and 7 Tribulations levels, a grim expression spread across Qishao true god's eyes. Martial artists of the barbaric wilderness continent, remnants of the divine Phoenix clan, prepare yourselves to meet your end. Chapter 538 The Great Catastrophe Arrives. Heavenly Saint achieved. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. After another mobilization by the young clan leader of the Flying Spirit clan, these hundreds of true gods, following the young clan leader, all flew out of the Flying Spirit clan's council hall and headed towards the nearest void teleportation point within the clan. For true gods of the minor spirit realm to descend to the lower realm, they must first leave the minor spirit realm. And to leave the minor spirit realm, they would have to exit through the areas where the void's power is weakest. Such places where the void's power is the weakest are known as void teleportation points. The 6 ancient clans have explored and occupied countless void teleportation points, specifically for the purpose of leaving the minor spirit realm. When the hundreds of true gods successfully passed through the void teleportation point with the Flying Spirit Clan's young clan leader and left the minor spirit realm, they stood in the dark void beneath the minor spirit realm, looking towards the vast 33 continents of the lower realm. Afterwards, these figures all burst forth, flying towards the direction of the barbaric wilderness continent among the 33 continents. True gods descend. When shuttling into the spatial barriers of the lower realm continent, they would be repelled and could be injured. But these Flying Spirit Clan true gods were not at all afraid. This time, it was not just one true god descending, but hundreds of true gods descending together. Moreover, the stronger the true god, the lesser the injuries they would sustain from the lower realm's spatial barriers. They were not worried about encountering any threats on the barbaric wilderness continent. Let alone these hundreds of true gods, even if it were just the young clan leader alone, with the realm of an 8th tribulation's true god, descending to the lower realm would almost result in no injury, and they would be more than capable of sweeping across the entire barbaric wilderness continent. The reason why the Flying Spirit Clan's young clan leader brought hundreds of true gods to descend together, including many 6 tribulations and 7 tribulations true gods, was to follow the orders of the Flying Spirit Clan's old clan leader from afar in Divine Phoenix City, to ensure that the Divine King-level Great Secret was thoroughly unearthed. Boom! 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 As these hundreds of true god figures shuttled through the dark void between continents, their whole bodies were wrapped in blazing true god's power, dragging thousands of feet-long divine light, like hundreds of meteors, plummeting toward the barbaric wilderness continent at breakneck speed. The minor spirit realm was extremely far from the barbaric wilderness continent, with a true distance of millions of miles. However, in the midst of these true gods' meteor-like rapid descent and impact, it only took them a few days to cross this distance of millions of miles in its entirety. Finally, these hundreds of true god figures, from afar, all saw the vast lower realm continent of the barbaric wilderness, appearing tens of thousands of meters below them. Head down. Those with a realm lower than 5 tribulations true god. Activate the defensive magical treasure I gave you earlier to withstand the rebounding force of the barbaric wilderness continent's spatial barrier. The rest, follow me and charge down directly. Even amidst their meteoric descent, the voice of the Flying Spirit Clan's young clan leader clearly reached every true god's ears. Yes, young clan leader. All the true gods responded loudly in unison. Chishao true god, whose realm had fallen to that of a 3 tribulations true god, along with the other true gods who knew how to break the forbidden and were brought out by the Flying Spirit Clan's young clan leader, activated the defensive magical treasure on their bodies. Immediately, the true god divine light around their bodies emitted an endless light of treasures. These true gods, along with the stronger 5 tribulations and above true gods, increased their speed crazily, dragging an even larger divine light radiance as they shot towards the barbaric wilderness continent below at high speed. Bang! 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 As they were about to truly reach the barbaric wilderness continent above and directly break into its space, these hundreds of figures produced tremendously powerful collision sounds with the void above the barbaric wilderness continent. This was the sound of true gods shuttling through the spatial barriers of the barbaric wilderness continent. These sounds, like thunderclaps, exploded. If it were just one sound, it wouldn't amount to much, but this was hundreds of sounds, and the impact noises brought by numerous formidable 6 tribulations, 7 tribulations, and even 8 tribulations true gods, virtually caused a stir across the entire barbaric wilderness continent. Countless martial artists hiding in spatial treasures, along with those who did not believe true gods would descend and did not hide, all looked towards the sky. At that moment they saw directly above, near the central region of the barbaric wilderness continent close to the northern region in the high sky, that there were hundreds of earth-shattering fireball meteors impacting the barbaric wilderness continent. Hundreds of astonishing divine lights erupted in terrible thunderous booms, tearing through the spatial barrier above the barbaric wilderness continent, and completely entering into the barbaric wilderness continent's spatial domain. and at an incredibly terrifying speed, they explosively plummeted towards the surface of the entire barbaric wilderness continent. What is this? Could it be the legendary descent of true gods? Those who hadn't hidden were completely stunned, and those hiding within spatial treasures could not believe that after waiting for several days, they had truly witnessed the arrival of the incredibly terrifying true gods from the upper realm. They had seen the arrival of these hundreds of meteor-like plummeting figures. In the end, these people dared not watch any longer, hiding their entire figures deeper within their spatial treasures, even concealing their spatial treasures deep away. Boom! 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 Find your next read at novelbin.com. After passing through the spatial barrier of the barbaric wilderness continent, the hundreds of true gods from the Flying Spirit clan, whether wanting to intimidate the martial artists of the lower realm or for some other reason, didn't seem to have any intention of slowing down. They kept up their frightfully terrifying speed as if they were earth-shattering meteors, and they plummeted directly towards the ground of the barbaric wilderness continent. At last, these hundreds of figures all smashed onto the surface of the barbaric wilderness continent. In an instant, each figure caused a large expanse of the ground to collapse, and each figure created a gigantic crater thousands of feet in diameter and seemingly bottomless. All the figures connected, simply turning the vast land of the barbaric wilderness continent where they descended into a crater-ridden mess. Swoosh! 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 Eventually, those figures burst out of the deep pit from which they had been smashed, laughing heartily as they flew back up to the surface of the barbaric wilderness continent. Every one of these figures gathered around the young clan leader of the Flying Spirit clan. The young clan leader of the Flying Spirit clan, looking toward the somewhat silent barbaric wilderness continent, said with a smile, "This is my first visit to the barbaric wilderness continent. Qishao, did you say your true body was destroyed here? Then let us use the blood of the people from this barbaric wilderness continent to compensate you on our way to the realm you spoke of." Boom! 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 In an instant, those figures vanished from where they stood, and the next moment, within a few hundred miles, countless piercing screams of agony reverberated through the air. Among these piteous screams, a snort could be heard. They guessed we were descending to the lower realm, and many have gone into hiding. Do they think they can escape by hiding in spatial treasures? Following that snort, wherever those hundreds of figures passed, swathes of land and cities were churned up. Some lower-grade spatial treasures, those not well hidden, simply could not evade the scrutiny of these true gods. Even without these true gods putting in full effort to search meticulously, merely flying toward the southern territory and casually probing their surroundings, they uncovered one spatial treasure after another. Thud! 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 Instantly, all these spatial treasures were crushed, and the countless martial artists hiding inside were slaughtered by the true god's power, all killed in an instant. Wherever these hundreds of true gods from the Flying Spirit clan passed, the cities and lands were destroyed, screams arose without end, and blood flowed like rivers. A great catastrophe. Indeed, these true gods from the Flying Spirit clan, who had once attacked the Divine Phoenix clan, displayed no mercy upon descending to the lower realm. They were extremely cruel and ruthless. Truly, they brought about a devastating great catastrophe throughout the entire barbaric wilderness continent. Had it not been for the prior agreement between Yichun, Jiangyao, the True Phoenix, and Mulan True God, and if not for the warnings from the True Phoenix and Mulan True God, which led countless people to hide exceptionally well, with even more tucking away into the Ice Snow Jade pendant, the disaster that this catastrophe brought forth would have been dozens or even hundreds of times more tragic. Meanwhile, as hundreds of true gods from the Flying Spirit clan descended from the minor spirit realm to the barbaric wilderness continent over several days, causing widespread disaster and catastrophe, underneath the massive city of the Heavenly Treasure Kingdom, within the main hall of the Icebound Temple, Yichun had finally completed his cultivation of the Heavenly Saint Realm to perfection after several days of training. Boom! Yichun, seated on the heaven-reaching bridge, rose to his feet. When his presence surged out once more, it was already distinctly that of the Heavenly Saint realm. Heavenly Saint. This signified that Yi Chun, who was previously at the late phase of the rotating pill, had completely stepped into the Heavenly Saint realm. Yi Chun was now a being of the Heavenly Saint realm. Looking inside Yi Chun's Qi, one could see that his rotating pill, which should have transformed entirely into Heavenly Saint power upon entering the Heavenly Saint realm, not only hadn't dissipated but became even more resplendent with divine light. All around the Taiyuan divine pill within the Qi, there was a proliferation of Heavenly Saint power. Moreover, within a secret location beyond Yi Chen's Qi, deep within his physical body, a stellar vortex had been fully opened, even radiating a dazzlingly bright stellar light and emitting a terrifying stellar power. The radiant Taiyuan divine pill and the first stellar vortex were unexpected gains from the fourth chapter of the newly acquired primordial star scripture, the primordial chapter, which revealed itself due to a sudden inexplicable connection within Yi Chun when he was advancing to the Heavenly Saint realm. Even more so, when Yi Chun had truly entered the early phase of the Heavenly Saint realm after completing the breakthrough, the connection he previously set aside with the stellar divine diagram was fully established unconsciously. If it weren't for the need to continue braving the heaven-reaching bridge, Yi Chun would have wanted to directly attempt opening several more stellar vortices and complete his cultivation within the icebound temple. However, now was not the time for peaceful cultivation. Yi Chun was deeply concerned about the events unfolding outside, deeply worried that Qishao True God would indeed lead countless true gods of the Flying Spirit clan to descend to the lower realm. He was not able to truly concentrate on his cultivation. Therefore, upon breaking through to the Heavenly Saint realm and etching the fourth chapter of the primordial star scripture, the primordial chapter, firmly in his heart, finishing the foundation of his cultivation, Yi Chun left the Stars Tower and got up from his training, ready to launch another assault toward the heaven-reaching bridge ahead. Heavenly Saint realm. I am now a Heavenly Saint. At the late phase of the rotating pill, my combat power and the three signs of life were already enough to sweep away all Heavenly Saints. Now, I feel that even a low-rank true god is within my capability to fight. This time, this heaven-reaching bridge definitely won't stop me. Boom! 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 With a determined gaze, Yi Chun looked toward the endless heaven-reaching bridge ascending higher up, and then he took large strides, heading toward even greater heights on the bridge. Chapter 539 – The True Legacy. The heaven-reaching bridge, with incomparable prohibitions laid upon it, forbids flying. One can only walk. But even if flying were possible, likely no one could manage to fly across the heaven-reaching bridge. Because the entire expanse of the bridge is filled with a powerful resisting aura. Let alone flying, even walking would utterly immobilize many. To be able to inch forward step by step, reaching the midpoint of the heaven-reaching bridge, would undoubtedly be considered miraculous. And yet, at this moment, Yi Chun, who was striding toward the higher reaches of the bridge, truly achieved a stride as meteoric as one could imagine. His walking pace was even faster than before. Earlier, before commencing his cultivation preparation, Yi Chun had already traversed 70 sections, each one a myriad feet in length of the bridge's surface. He was only 30 sections, each one a myriad feet, from the Icebound Temple's Divine King's highest demand for the most complete legacy of God-King level inheritance. At that time, even as Yi Chun faced some obstructions towards the end, he still had strength to spare. But now, having stepped into the fourth chapter of the primordial star scripture, primordial beginning, and at the same time entered the Heavenly Saint realm, Yi Chun's entire essence, Qi and spirit, three major signs of life, had leaped forward again, undergoing qualitative improvement. Challenging the heaven-reaching bridge, which tests the three major signs of life, he certainly had more confidence and strength than before. 80 sections, each a myriad feet in length. When it took Yi Chun only the time it takes to drink half a cup of tea to traverse another 10 sections, each a myriad feet, the hall spirit watching from below wanted to leap up in excitement. It already knew, the person destined to inherit the Icebound Divine King's mighty legacy, this young man who kept surprising it, was on the verge of a victorious return. 90 sections, each a myriad feet in length. As Yi-chun reached the highest reaches of the starry sky, nearly drowning amid the countless stars on either side of the bridge, Bing-chi, Bing-woo, and Bing-yi, who had been observing from within the mysterious space, all clenched their fists tightly, their hearts hanging in their throats. They, too, were waiting for the moment their new master would meet the highest requirement. 93 sections, each a myriad feet in length. 95 sections, each a myriad feet in length. 97 sections, each a myriad feet in length. He was close. The distance to meet the icebound divine king's highest demand, to obtain the most complete inheritance of God-King level, was becoming nearer and nearer. As Yi-chun maintained his unslowing pace, even sprinting faintly towards the end, he finally leapt across 3 more sections, each a myriad feet, thoroughly traversing 100 sections of the bridge and stepping completely into the endless stars above the heaven-reaching bridge. A momentary stillness fell over the entire icebound temple. Then, for voices of utter surprise and joy erupted within the icebound temple. They were the voices of the hall spirit as well as Bing-chi, Bing-woo, and Bing-yi. Especially Bing-yi, who had not expected that she would cheer so for this new master she had not yet met. She had not anticipated that her new master's perseverance could make her so concerned that, in the moment of ultimate success, she couldn't help but feel tears of excitement wanting to flow. This was a natural attraction she felt. Her new master had a powerful charm, an innate talent and temperament that made her unconsciously acknowledge, approve, and from the bottom of her heart, swear allegiance and admiration to this new master. Thus, she exhibited such an uncontainable reaction, and it wasn't just Bing-yi who felt this way. Bing-chi and Bing-woo had acknowledged Yi-chun from the bottom of their hearts quite some time before. They even felt their former master, the icebound divine king, had never been so strong, and perhaps under their witness, this new master could reach heights even their old master had not. Boom! 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 Amidst the boundless excitement of Bing-chi, Bing-woo, and Bing-yi, the shackles of their mysterious space were completely unlocked, and they flew out. Filled with intense emotion, they soared towards the direction of the heaven-reaching bridge, flying towards their new master, Yi-chun. The hall spirit, at this moment, also lifted its head to gaze across the boundless heaven-reaching bridge, looking towards Yi-chun at the far end of the bridge. In its eyes, there was gratification, relief, and even more so, hope. Its gaze ultimately shifted towards a region of the icebound temple as it murmured, "Old Master, your new successor is beyond all of our expectations in strength. One day, he will surely avenge you and make you exceedingly proud of him." In the end, the hall spirit could not help but shed tears. At the highest point of the heaven-reaching bridge, after crossing 100 sections of the bridge, each spanning 10,000 zhang, Yi-chun arrived at a platform on the far end of the bridge. Standing in the midst of the platform, Yi-chun even felt as if he was standing within the universe itself, amidst the myriad stars. Yi-chun also saw that, in the end, these myriad stars transformed into a faint phantom, a towering and majestic silhouette. The moment Yi-chun saw this phantom, he knew that this person must be the master of the icebound temple, the icebound divine king. At this moment, the phantom of the divine king of Ice Seal also looked towards Yi-chun. A faint smile appeared on his majestic face. "Successor, seeing my phantom, my true body, must have died who knows how many years ago. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Zhou Liuxiu, titled as the Icebound Divine King." With every sentence spoken by the phantom of the Icebound Divine King, a fragment would float out beside him, filled with remnants left by his true body. As his speech concluded, the sky was filled with hundreds of these fragments. All of these were the things the Icebound Divine King imparted to his successor at his dying moments. Countless insights, realizations, gains, and summaries. In the end, all these fragments flew towards Yi-chun. Finally, the phantom of the Icebound Divine King even produced 3 keys above its hand, which flew towards Yi-chun. Boom! 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 After doing all this, the phantom of the Icebound Divine King began to slowly dissipate, but its final words still thundered in Yi Chen's mind. Successor, you must carefully comprehend these fragments. They contain what I wanted to tell you. Even if they're not actual cultivation techniques, they will help your future growth immensely. These 3 keys correspond to 3 major levels of inheritance. With these 3 keys, the Heavenly Saint level inheritance, True God level inheritance, and God King level inheritance I left for you, all of them now belong to you. Within these 3 levels of inheritance, I have prepared for you cultivation techniques, divine artifacts, and divine treasures, as well as the 3 heaven-reaching divine artifacts I used back in the day, and also the means to unlock the staggering wealth I left in the divine kingdom. Successor, I am an upper God King. Though I have fallen, I was once among the renowned powerhouses in the divine kingdom. I hope that you will go further than I did, reach higher than I did. If so, my passing on this legacy to you will fill me with pride. Since you have personally received the keys of inheritance from my hand, I know you definitely have a chance to achieve this. Even as the phantom of the icebound divine king was vanishing, it still spoke earnestly to Yi Chen like an elder. Finally, the icebound divine king's phantom let out a sigh. Successor, I come from the Southern Territory's circulation of Heaven Divine City, within the mountain divine nation of Wanmu Mountain. Should you get the chance one day, visit the Southern Territory on my behalf, to see my family, my friends, my descendants, my dearest. As it spoke, the voice of the icebound divine king's phantom grew weaker and weaker. The remaining phantom energy completely expended, and eventually, it disappeared without a trace. Yi Chen gazed at the spot where the icebound divine king's phantom disappeared, silent for a long while before bowing deeply. Then, taking the hundreds of fragments and the 3 keys given by the icebound divine king, Yi Chen was engulfed by a ray of light and teleported back down the heaven-reaching bridge. As soon as Yi Chen arrived at the bottom of the heaven-reaching bridge, before he fully recovered from the feeling of loss left by the last moments of the icebound divine king, he saw the hall spirit coming towards him, and he also saw 3 figures flying towards him. These 3 figures, one a youth clad in fiery clothing, one a young woman in blue garments exuding a chilly aura, and another a girl dressed in snow-white attire. Your journey continues with Novelbin. Calm. These 3 were none other than Bing Qi, Bing Wu, and Bing Yi, the very people Yi Chen had long wished to meet. Bing Qi pays respects to the master. Bing Wu pays respects to the master. The young man in fiery clothing and the young woman in blue bowed down to the ground before Yi Chen. Both of them also produced a small box, lifting it high above their heads. Master, this is the Heavenly Saint level inheritance, True God level inheritance, left for you by the old master. The girl in snow-white attire, who resembled a young woman, also reverently and solemnly knelt before Yi Chen after locking eyes with him for a few moments, and with a snowy white box in her hand, she said, Bing Yi pays respects to the master. The highest inheritance from the old master, the God King level inheritance, is presented to the master. Chapter 540- True Form and the Heaven-Reaching Divine Artifact. Seeing the 3 figures prostrating on the ground, Yi Chen hurried to help them up. There's no need for such formality, esteemed seniors. These 3 true God-level guards had followed the icebound God King through countless realms and had cultivated for innumerable years. Even though Yi Chen had inherited the legacy of the icebound God King, he was unwilling to act superior in front of them, and even less so to accept such a grand gesture. Noticing Yi Chen's slightly awkward manner, the 3 true God-level guards smiled faintly, stood up, and respectively presented the box in their hands to Yi Chen with great reverence. Bing Yi chuckled at Yi Chen. Master, don't call us seniors. Although we've cultivated for many years as true spirit sacred beasts, considering our lifespans, we're not really that old. You can simply call us Bing Qi, Bing Wu, and Bing Yi. At this moment, the hall spirit spoke up to the 3 true God guards. Lord Yi Chen has been eager to meet you. Please quickly show your true forms to the Lord and explain your situation. Hearing the hall spirit's words, Bing Qi, Bing Wu, and Bing Yi all turned to look at Yi Chen. Seeing that Yi Chen was indeed very interested, Bing Qi stepped forward. He bowed to Yi Chen and said, "Master, my true form is that of a three-eyed fire qilin. Please observe, Master." Boom! Bing Qi's figure shuddered and, in an instant, a flash of light caused him to disappear from in front of Yi Chen. The next moment, the void suddenly revealed an enormous fire qilin, over 2,000 zhang long, surrounded by flames and roaring with its head held high. On its forehead was a flame-eye divine vision, adding an extraordinary and majestic air to its countenance. If not for the vastness of the main hall in the Icebound Temple, Bing Qi's huge size alone could have burst through a significant portion of space, not to mention the aura emanating from its body. Once its true form was revealed, Bing Qi's true god aura was fully unleashed as well. This true god aura, of course, would not harm its master Yi Chen. However, Yi Chen could sense that this mighty and extreme aura was even stronger than the one he and Jiang Yao, true Phoenix Mulan, true god, had faced when they jointly killed the 5 Tribulation True God, Qishao True God, 6 Tribulations True God, Three-Eyed Fire Qilin, Bing Qi. Boom! Amidst Yi Chen's amazement, Bing Qi once again became enveloped in a divine glow and transformed back into his youthful appearance with fiery clothes, returning to Yi Chen's side. Seeing Yi Chen nodding in appreciation of Bing Qi's display, Bing Wu also stepped forward, seeking Yi Chen's recognition. Bing Wu's aura was cold, making her seem standoffish. However, when facing Yi Chen, she was exceptionally gentle. With a light smile, as beautiful as a pear blossom in bloom, she said, "Master, my true form is Nine-Headed Serpent Emperor." Nine-Headed Serpent Emperor? Yi Chen was taken aback. Yi Chen had heard that such true spirit sacred beasts existed, alongside creatures like the phoenix and the divine dragon, capable of cultivation to the God King level. He had not expected that Bing Wu was of this divine species. As Yi Chen's heart trembled, Bing Wu gave him a radiant smile, and her curvaceous body twisted, disappearing instantaneously as well. The next moment, a creature even more gigantic than the three-eyed fire qilin, measuring a full 10,000 meters in length, an extraordinary and majestic 9-headed green snake, appeared in the void. Continue reading at novelbin.com. This 9-headed green snake seemed to wear crowns upon each of its heads. Indeed, it was the distinctive appearance reserved for the 9-headed serpent emperor species. With its emergence, the entire void uncontrollably filled with countless streaks of purple lightning. Amidst the thunderous lightning, the 9-headed serpent emperor Bing Wu appeared even more mysterious and noble. The chilling aura she radiated was stronger than Bingo's, unmistakably the aura of a 7 Tribulations true god. Observing Bing Wu, Yi Chen was reminded of the origins of the remaining 3 true god level Icebound guards, as once told to him by the phantom of the Icebound God King. The Icebound God King's phantom had told him that Bing Wu, of the noble 9-headed serpent emperor line, was not favored in her clan due to her talent. But Bing Wu, unwilling to accept this, ventured out alone, determined to become an unparalleled warrior. She cultivated along a path fraught with countless dangers, braving many death-level areas, and grew amidst the storms. By chance, she was saved by the Icebound God King in a place of ultimate peril, which led her to follow him. Elegant and aloof on the outside, yet inside possessing great determination and loyalty, and always repaying kindness. This was the Icebound God King's assessment of Bing Wu. Boom! Transformed into the 9-headed serpent emperor, Bing Wu, all 9 pairs of eyes looked towards Yi Chen, nodding in respect. After seeing Yi Chen's nod and smile in return, she resumed her form as a lady in green clothes and returned to Yi Chen's side. After Bing Qi and Bing Wu had showcased themselves, Yi Chen's gaze finally shifted to Bing Yi. Bing Yi, 9 Tribulations true god, the strongest under the throne of the Icebound God King. Yi Chen had learned through the phantom of the Icebound God King that the God King himself valued and cherished Bing Yi immensely, raising and instructing her as if she were his own daughter. When delegating tasks to the 3 God King level Icebound guards, the phantom mentioned Bing Yi the most, giving her the greatest number of instructions. He even specifically told Yi Chun that the Ice Nether Divine Sparrow clan, to which Bing Yi belonged, was a legendary god clan that had vanished. He had stumbled upon Bing Yi by chance on Star Divine Mountain. Yi Chun had long wanted to meet Bing Yi, and after hearing the Phantom's words, his curiosity about her grew even stronger. Upon seeing Yi Chun glance her way, Bing Yi's cheeks flushed with rare embarrassment before revealing her true form. "Master, please don't despise my true form for being unsightly." As she spoke, divine light flickered about her, and in an instant, she soared into the void above, revealing her true self. What appeared was an extraordinary divine bird with feathers as white as snow, each radiating with a halo of pristine brilliance. Although Bing Yi's true form was not as massive as that of Bing Wu's nine-headed serpent emperor, or even as the fire Qilance body of Bing Qi, stretching only over 300 zhang long, she seemed incredibly delicate compared to the other two true god guards. But Bing Yi exuded a divine radiance and a beauty that Bing Qi and Bing Wu completely lacked. Bing Yi had worriedly blushed when she transformed, concerned that Yi Chun would find her true form unattractive. However, upon seeing Bing Yi's true form, Yi Chun could not possibly find it unattractive. It was the most extraordinary true spirit sacred beast he had ever seen. Witnessing the admiration in Yi Chun's eyes, Bing Yi's own pupils shimmered even brighter within the void. Each feather on her glowed with divine light, and as she unfolded them slowly, she fully released her 9 tribulations true god aura for Yi Chun to see. With this release, the entire void seemed to freeze, as if everything in that space had condensed into Bing Yi alone. Yi Chun felt that Bing Yi's divine might had reached the highest pinnacle of a true god level, suggesting that she was perhaps just one opportunity away from stepping into the realm beyond true gods, the God King level. Powerful. This was true power. Having fully witnessed Bing Yi's aura, Yi Chun felt truly confident in dealing with the worrisome matter of the true god from the Flying Spirit clan descending into the lower world. Amidst Yi Chun's astonishment and delight, Bing Yi transformed back into the white-clad girl and returned to his side. Even after Bing Yi had returned, Yi Chun's mind was still filled with the image of her true form, as pure as snow and as noble as an ice deity. A presence of the 9 tribulations true gods might to the extreme. After witnessing the true forms of the 3 true god guards, Yi Chun used the 3 keys left by the Icebound God King to open the inheritance boxes of 3 different levels, as narrated by the guards. Calling them boxes, inside there were actually spaces filled with treasures. Within the Heavenly Saint level inheritance box, there were countless premium spirit stones that Yi Chun could have never imagined, along with innumerable holy artifacts, Heavenly Saint arts. The True God level inheritance box contained a large stack of True God talismans, 10 divine artifacts and treasures, and countless divine beads needed for True God cultivation. The Icebound God King had even prepared many items necessary for transcending the 9 tribulations of a true god for Yi Chun. After examining the Heavenly Saint level and True God level inheritance boxes, Yi Chun finally set his eyes on the God King level white box that Bing Yi had provided. When the white box was opened, with Bing Yi's explanation, Yi Chun saw that it contained the 3 heaven-reaching divine artifacts previously mentioned by the Icebound God King. Bing Yi added that if it weren't for the Icebound God King's final life and death battle with his nemesis, which destroyed many of the divine artifacts he used, there would have been more than 3 God King level heaven-reaching divine artifacts left behind. Among these 3 heaven-reaching divine artifacts, there were no offensive weapons. The Icebound God King's offensive divine artifacts had been destroyed in the Great Battle. Nonetheless, the value of these 3 heaven-reaching divine artifacts was not at all inferior to offensive types. The first was a battleship covered in scars from warfare, a supreme flying heaven-reaching divine artifact that had even helped the Icebound God King to escape pursuers. It was capable of traveling through the endless stars. The second was a set of defensive armor. The Icebound God King's own defensive armor had been damaged during the major battle, and this set, acquired by accident and yet unused, was considered mid-grade even among heaven-reaching divine artifacts. The last heaven-reaching divine artifact was a divine cauldron inscribed with text, which were precisely the most precious cultivation patterns of the Icebound divine body legacy from the Icebound God King. Only by possessing this divine cauldron, One could cultivate the genuine cultivation technique of the Icebound God King, a heaven-reaching divine artifact for flight, defensive armor as a heaven-reaching divine artifact, and a heaven-reaching divine artifact for Hall Spirit's art. Yi Chun had heard back in Minor Pole Sky that only those at the God King level could use heaven-reaching divine artifacts, and those at an even higher God Sovereign level could access the more precious mysterious heavenly divine artifacts. At the time, Yi Chun had thought that the Ice Snow Jade Pendant he obtained from the sub-palace of the Icebound Temple was already a superior divine artifact, and that upon entering the main hall of the Icebound Temple, he would certainly acquire an even more precious divine artifact than the Ice Snow Jade Pendant. Unexpectedly, he had indeed obtained God King level heaven-reaching divine artifacts, and 3 of them at that,